This is Jocko podcast number 185 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
You get one shot, and that's it. And in the end, you're going into the ground. Regardless of what you believe the afterlife consists of or what it doesn't consist of, as far as what you get to hold on to once you leave here is nothing. And I implore people all the time to make it count. Because this is it. This is the finals. There are no redos. You can't hit the rewind button. And even worse, you can't even hit the pause button. There's no way you can stop the clock from ticking. No possible way. The countdown is on. And the days are finite. You only get so many. And then it's over. So until then, make them count. Make all of them count. And on the podcast today, I have a guest, a fellow frogman, whom, to the best of my knowledge, is doing his best to make his days count. His name is Mitch Aguiar, and we just met each other. But like I said, he's a frogman. He likes jiu-jitsu. He likes to get after it. So my guess is we should have some things to talk about. So Mitch, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you as well.
15 minutes ago.
Yep.
Picked you up at the airport. I think we linked up some way on social media.
Correct.
And you were in the AO doing some training. And so here you are. Cool. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Virginia Beach and then was there till about 11, then moved to Maryland and lived with my dad. Was there till about 16. And then,
so wait, grew up in Virginia Beach, parents in the military?
Yep. My mom and dad were both in the Navy.
Both in the Nav.
That's right.
Check.
And my mom was an OS and my dad was a combat cameraman with Dev Group.
Okay, right on. And so then you were there until you said you were 11?
Yeah, I was in Virginia Beach till I was 11. They were divorced, and my dad had gotten out of the Navy and was living up in Maryland, working at the Aberdeen Proving Ground.
Okay, sure.
And doing high-speed photography there and, filming tank rounds and all kinds of cool explosives and stuff like that. And
he had like a wicked cool job before it was cool.
A wicked cool job, yeah. And so I went up there and lived with him for a while, and then around 16, moved up to Ohio. My mom had moved up to Ohio. My stepdad was also in the Navy, and he had gotten out, and they'd started a business up in Ohio, and I went and lived with her up there and finished out high school in Ohio, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and then joined the Navy from there.
What was high school like? What sports were you playing?
I was playing football, basketball, lacrosse, and that was it.
Were you good? Were you a good athlete?
I was a good athlete, and I was also into some sports that weren't at our school. I was on an arm wrestling team and a dodgeball team, like a traveling dodgeball team.
Hell yeah. A traveling dodgeball team.
It was by far my favorite.
Like how many games would you play in dodgeball?
In a day?
No, in like a season. What's the season? The dodgeball season.
Well, there's practice, obviously, and if you take it serious like we did, we practice like 3 times a week, and then we would travel on the weekends for tournaments.
What balls do you use?
We would some leagues are different, but mainly it's those kick balls that you see.
So like the red rubber ones?
Yeah.
How many people are on the team each side?
It was like 6 or 7 people per team, and then we had like a couple substitutes,
In case there was injuries.
Injuries, just like any other sport, man. You had your first string, your starters.
And then but you didn't wrestle.
I did not wrestle. I
didn't
wrestle.
Regret that,
I didn't run cross country. I didn't swim. I didn't do anything in high school that would be useful in my ongoing adventures.
Well, football, basketball. I mean, you're becoming an athlete. You're coordinated. You're
for
training
sure.
hard.
Like just in general, I would say that competition mindset. That and just being an athlete overall. That was always something that was just ingrained in me. Both my mom and dad, and they were really competitive. Like always had us in sports growing up. My brother and I. And I always loved the competition side of things, and I actually like hate working out still to this day. Like I don't really enjoy it, but if there's some sort of competition involved in it, or competitiveness, that's what I really like.
Check. So you get done with high school, what makes you join the Navy?
Honestly, I was just bored. I was living in Ohio, and it sucked there, and there was just nothing there that I wanted.
How long after you graduated high school did you join the Navy?
A couple months.
Did you go in the dive farer program to be in the teams, or did you just want to be in the Navy? No,
I originally. It wasn't planned out at all. I was working 3 different jobs. I was a roofer, which I really, really loved. That was a great job. And I worked at my parents', like they owned a deli / convenience store kind of thing. I worked there, and I was a lifeguard at Kalahari. And I was a surf instructor.
You said Kalahari. I don't even know what that is.
It's the world's largest indoor water park.
Oh, okay. And they have waves there?
Yeah, they have a flow rider, like a couple flow rider machines.
Oh, the thing that shoots water up the plastic type thing?
Yeah, it creates an artificial wave. So I was on the competition team, and I would like give people lessons on how to ride that thing.
So between that and dodgeball, you were kind of dialed in for some action.
That's right.
That's a good setup. So you recommend if someone wants to get a career of special operations, they focus on dodgeball
and arm wrestling and surfing.
Awesome.
It's pretty much a formula for success.
And so you're doing these jobs, and you're not having a good time with whatever.
I was not a very good studious student in high school. High school was more of like a socialization for me. Like I really enjoyed going there to socialize. I really enjoyed making friends, and I liked sports, and I always loved working and making money. Like school was just kind of in the way. I'd kind of at the time I just had zero interest in any sort of classwork whatsoever, and I don't even understand how I had graduated.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do something in life. I don't know what. I'm assuming it'll be good though. I just don't know what it is. And my teachers were kind of in that same mindset. They're, half of them were just like, man, you're hopeless. Like you're just going to work at Burger King, whatever. And then the other halves were just like, yeah, you're going to do something great. It's definitely not going to be in school, but who knows what it is. And I was just kind of in that, glass half full. I was thinking the same thing. And I didn't know what it was, honestly. Like I said, I was roofing, and I really loved roofing, but I was making minimal money, and I knew that wasn't going to be it. So I was in the area. I knew that nothing around the area interested me. There was nothing that I wanted to pursue around there. I was young. I was 18. My mom and dad were both, and my stepdad were all in the Navy at points in their life, and had talked about the benefits of the military. My dad was always trying to get me to go in the military, and I just wasn't interested at all. And that was never really even a consideration until quite literally, like, I was just bored, and the recruiter happened to walk in and catch me and was like, "Hey, you want to join the Navy?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I was going to do master at arms. Like, I was like, I've always had like a kind of respect for police. My grandfather was a police officer. My uncle is still a police officer, and that was something that I felt like was a courageous job and a helpful, useful one or whatever, and I figured that I've always been real protective as well. So like, I figured that job would kind of maybe be fitting for me. So he had asked me, "Hey, yeah, you want to join the Navy?" And I was like, "Okay." And then I thought I'll go that route. And he was like, "Well, you look like you're in good shape. Do you wanna be a SEAL?" And I was like, "What, those sneaky guys?" The only thing I knew about SEALs was from that commercial where they're on the beach, or it's a scene and it's on the beach and the clouds roll over the moon, and then they like pass, and there's footprints,
or whatever.
And so that's all I knew about Navy SEALs, and I was like, "Oh, those guys."
What year is this?
This was 2007.
Dang. So you're watching the wars are going on all through high school. You're seeing all that stuff take place.
Mm-hmm. Well, 9/11 happened when I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
You were probably boots on ground or something there.
Well, I mean, I had been in for like 11 years at that point. Because I joined in 90. So
I was born in 89.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit older than you are, correct. Apparently.
Yeah.
So did you realize, like, so this was your first kind of connection? Because for me, when I was growing up, like, every time some kind of war event happened, I was all bummed out that I wasn't there because I was too young. And that's just the way I was always thinking about that. I was always into the military, but you were kind of like not.
I was the total opposite. Like, I wanted nothing to do with the military. I wanted nothing to do with, like, I never even thought about it. My dad was just, he was in, and he was a combat cameraman with Dev Group. So obviously he was, really involved with it. And, anytime he would try and talk to me about it, I'm just like, I'm not interested. I'm not going to join the fucking military.
But you don't know what flipped the switch? Just mega boredom? Yeah.
I was like, well, worst case scenario, I know I'm in the Navy for 4 years. I'll go see the world a little bit. I'll, gain some life experience, and worst case, I get out and I'm fucking 22.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? I'm not going to college. I know that. High school I barely made it through that, and just not because I was stupid, just because just
wasn't your scene.
Oh my God. I'd rather do Hell Week 10 times in a row than write an essay,
So you get in the Navy, and do you prepare at all? Like, for...
I had never run like further than a mile. And like all my sports stuff was all sprinting. I mean, those dodgeballs are only,
dodgeball courts are small.
Yeah, they're short. So it's just, I was always a really fast sprinter. And that was kind of all I really cared about. I also like, now looking back, how stupid I was and just how dumb you are at 18. Like, you think you really, like, know.
Oh, yeah.
When you're 18, you really, like, you're like, man, you know, you look back at when you're 10 and you're like, man, I know so much now. I just
compared to my 7-year-old self,
compared
I'm
to
brilliant.
compared to my 8-year-old self, like, I didn't even know what I was doing. Now I'm a man. You know, I know what life's about. But at that point, obviously, now I'm 30. Looking back at that, I'm just like, man, you're so dumb. But I really was, and just really inexperienced with life. I had never, like I said, run really further than a mile. I didn't even understand like that people did that. I'd heard about like marathons and stuff, but you know, I remember when I had heard that I had to run like a mile and a half for the PST. I was just like, what in the fuck? Like, why? What? And then like I told my dad that I signed up for the SEAL teams, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a SEAL. And he's just like, you have no idea what you just signed up for. I didn't even know I had to go to Bud's. And then, so he I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be a SEAL. What's wrong with that? And he bought me the 234 documentary, and we sat down and watched that. And I remember like just watching the 4 mile timed run, and I was just thinking like, is that even possible? Like, do people really do that? And I was just thinking, like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm going to have to do all of this shit. Oh, my God. I better start running. I better start training.
So did you start running and training?
Yeah. I mean, I went out and, you know, actually back up before I even saw that. The first introduction I had to Buds or Navy SEALs in general. Once I signed up and I was like, all right, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. I better do some research. So I went out and got Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen, and I watched that, and that was my very first introduction to what Navy SEALs were. And I was just like, man, looks pretty intense. Pretty cool, though. And, you know, in the scene in that movie, they say it's Buds, but it's obviously not, because it's like in the woods, and there's like grenades going off, and they're like army crawling under barbed wire, and he's like, this is Buds, you know, like it was just like this crazy scene or whatever. And I was just thinking like, damn, I got to go through all that. All right, so I went out and bought some fucking camo pants. I bought some boots, like just leather boots, and I went for a run down my street. And I remember it was like a mile, I was like, I have to run a mile and a half, so I'm going to see how this goes. And I went and got those pants and got suited up, fucking ran. And I was just thinking like, oh man, this is going to be hard. But and then my dad got the 234 documentary, and then I was just like, oh, okay, I really just have no fucking idea what I just signed up for. And I was just thinking like, damn, that looks really hard, but I already told everyone that I was going to do this. And I was just kind of that, you know, that's one good thing about being 18 and you're just young and dumb and stubborn. And, you know, luckily I used the good of that to get through, I guess.
So you get in the, I was going to say, you know,
my dive motivator was Mike Noss. Do you know him?
Yes, I know who it is. I don't like know him personally, but
well, he's an old Vietnam frogman plank owner at Dam Neck, and he came in, and he's a tall guy, and he walks with like a kind of a big limp because he had like a hip replacement. He still swims like a fish, and he actually taught me how to do the side stroke the day before my PST. So it was like pretty steep learning curve.
Yeah, that is. I always tell people not to make decisions when they're super emotional. And so I'm going to start adding, don't make decisions when you're super just bored. Yeah.
Yeah, you might end up at Bud's.
So you show up to Bud's, and you must have, you know, obviously you made it through. Was there any, what was tough for you in Bud's?
Running was definitely, I mean, obviously that's like what you do the most of. Mm-hmm. And man, it was just, I went from no running ever to running my ass off just everywhere. And those timed runs, man, I was just fucking having a lot of conversations with Jesus on those runs, and just, giving it everything I fucking had just to make the cutoff on those runs. And then I eventually became like a pretty good runner just from doing it. And but yeah, I was for sure captain of the goon squad. And but luckily all those fucking dodgeball sprints were paying off in the goon squad. So it was nice. In the goon squad, I felt comfortable.
Did you get rolled for anything in buds?
Yeah, I got rolled for some. I had real bad shin splints from running, the lack of running previous, and but got rolled, dealt with that, and like I said, I picked up from running so much, I just got good at it, and I was young, so adapted well, I guess.
Yeah, it pays to be young in buds, in my opinion.
Yeah,
from a physical perspective.
Physical, yeah, for sure. With dealing with overuse injuries, I mean, because you're definitely gonna they're obviously just gonna fucking ream your ass, and then you have to get up and go.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the medical guys there who came from a sports environment, I think the NFL. It was either I think it was the NFL. And do you remember I think it's patellofemoral syndrome? Did you ever know anyone that got that there? Mm-mm. Anyways, there's a bunch of people that get this patellofemoral syndrome. And he said, yeah, at Buds, I would see 10 cases a week of patellofemoral syndrome. It's where your patella rubs against your femur or something. And he said in the NFL, you'd see one of these every year, maybe one a year. And so these guys that would come to Buds from a physical, athletic trainer perspective, would learn so much because they're just getting these bodies are just going through abuse like no other bodies. And so they see all these common injuries that you get to your knees, your shoulders, your back. That's what you go to Buds as an athletic trainer, you learn, and as a doctor, you learn so much about how to deal with these things because you see 10 times more than you would, or more than you would anywhere else.
Yeah, I believe it.
But I've also talked to people who say, I was young too going through Buds.
How old were you?
18.
Okay.
And so you get the mind of, hey, I just do whatever they tell me to do, But there's some people that have told me they didn't think they were mature enough at 18 or 19 to go through Buds.
I for sure was not, I don't want to say I wasn't mature enough to go through, because obviously I did and I made it through. However, you say what my biggest struggle at Buds was definitely my maturity. I mean, physically it was running, I was never a long distance runner, obviously. Sprinting, I was fast as fuck sprinting, and I was really strong on the log, and the boats on heads was extremely surprising to me. I remember seeing it on the videos and thinking okay, that's kind of weird. Why are they running around with boats on their heads? And then I didn't think it was going to be painful because they're inflatable, the rubber boats or whatever. And then when they put the thing on your head, I was just like, Jesus Christ, this thing is smashing my fucking neck.
Did the instructors jump around in the boats when you went through? Because they stopped doing it at some point.
They would, some of the little guys would jump and hang on the handles and shit like that when you're running. But yeah, you definitely knew when they were on the boats because they got a lot heavier. But
they would, what they would do when I went through, and they stopped doing this, which is a good thing. They would be the boats would be lined up, and we'd have them in head carry, and the instructors would be in boat 1
and run,
and then they would just jump into boat 2 and then jump into boat 3. And I remember hearing when they did that to me, a couple of the times that they did it to me, I heard this deep kind of inside my neck, and I remember thinking, this is probably not good. And they stopped doing it, thankfully, because that's not healthy.
So you actually used to be 6'2".
I don't know if I got shorter, but I definitely took some damage took some damage for sure.
Yeah, the boats on heads was probably the most surprising thing to me of how, like, I just wasn't expecting it to be that bad. And but like the log PT, you know, I actually really enjoyed the log PT. I think probably because from roofing, you know, I was always carrying those 80-pound bundles of shingles up the ladder, and then like I was the young guy on the crew, so I was the shingle bitch for fucking 3 years. And you know, everyone on my crew is in their 40s, so they, you know, I was the 15-year-old when I came on the crew, and just a young, strong kid. They took full advantage of it, and just wherever they needed shingles on the roof, that's where I hauled them up. And so I was used to carrying, you know, the heavy load and stuff. Like I said, I felt strong. I felt really good on that stuff, and mentally, I was like, I just was super competitive, and that's what really got me through buds was just that sheer competitiveness. Where did the maturity level,
where could that have tripped you up? Were you like doing dumb stuff on the weekends? Were you?
No, not really. Because I mean, I wasn't even old enough to go drink or anything like that. So it was more just kind of not understanding. Well, one, like I was different. I was different than most people there because, like you said, you wanted to be in the military your whole life, and like you wanted to be a SEAL, I'm assuming. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I kind of figured out what the SEAL teams were, yeah.
Yeah, so like that, and like just how you are, you're very disciplined, you're very, you know, you're very militant, I would say. And
I would concur.
Yeah, and I was like more of like a wild, like free spirit kind of, you know, kid growing up, and I was not militant at all, and so, and I also like getting through boot camp was difficult for me because of that as well, you know, just like I'm like why my question was like, why do we have to
fold our underwear like this or whatever?
We're literally spent all day undoing our bed and remaking it. I was like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, it's such a waste of time. And, you know, obviously it's all for a reason and design, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. So that just lack of military bearing and lack of maturity and understanding like why things are the way they are, and, you know, the whole military structure of you just do it and you don't question stuff like that, you know. That was probably my biggest hang up, you know, just I was different than everyone. I was young. I don't know. I didn't want to be a SEAL my whole life. You know, some of these people, like, this is like their dream and they've been training for it for whatever, and I'm just kind of here showing up, and guys are quitting and I'm not, and you know, and like physically I was doing like a lot better than some guys who, like I said, it was kind of just like, well, I'm just here, whatever, doing this, and other guys it's like, this is everything to me, and you know, so it's like
check. So you get done with buds and you show up, and where'd you go? Team 10?
Team 10, yeah.
Right on. And then how was that checking into Team 10?
It was cool. By that point, you know, I'd kind of like obviously I was like, all right, I'm a SEAL now, and I had been in the pipeline for a while and kind of getting in the flow of things in the military and stuff like that. But yeah, I was super excited to check into Team 10, and originally I was going to go to Team 5, and then I told my family, you know, that I got orders to 5, and they were all kind of bummed out because they're all on the East Coast, and they were like, oh man, you know, we were hoping you'd come on the East Coast, and I was like, okay, I'll go to the East Coast. And I thought it was like kind of cool too, because it felt like a new chapter, because like, you know, the SEAL Team 1, 3, and 5 and 7 are right by the Buds compound. So it was like, you know, I'd been there and been in this scene for the last 2 years or whatever it was, and it was cool. It felt cool to like go across the country and like check into a team, and I just felt like this is it. This is a real deal. So that was super cool. I felt good. My troop was awesome, and
what was your job in your first platoon?
I was a heavy gunner for sure.
A-dub.
A knuckle dragger.
Yeah. That's a classic new guy, strong new guy. Guess what? Give him a pig.
You're a big, strong new guy. Got something for you. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I embraced it. I didn't think it was like a bad thing,
And what year is this now?
2009.
Okay. So you went straight to the Mark 48. No M60 for you.
Mm-mm.
That's nice.
Yeah, we shot 60s and stuff, but no, like
a FAM shoot with 60s or something?
Yeah, and there were 60s on like Humvees and stuff like that, and going through vehicle stuff.
So there was still a little bit of transition taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a pig gunner, your first platoon. How was your first workup?
It was awesome. It was definitely a good time.
What surprised you about like going through workup, being in a SEAL platoon? What was different than what you thought it was? What was different from how it was for Charlie Sheen?
It was a lot like the movie. I'm just kidding. It was great, man. I thought it was a lot of fun. We got to travel the country. That was the cool thing too about the East Coast. The training sites were kind of all over versus the West Coast. It was kind of like the same song and dance, like Nyland and what's the other one? You know what I'm saying? Like in the training's like all the same sites. And so going to the East Coast, I got to see a bunch of new places, and that was cool to me, just kind of seeing the world. And the brotherhood of like being in the troops and stuff, and you're rolling around as a team. I thought that was really cool.
Was there anything that was more challenging? Like, some new guys, they have a hard time in their first platoon with land warfare. They have a hard time with CQC. They'll have a hard time with whatever. Sometimes it's like not easy. Sometimes you get a guy that can't dive very well or whatever. Was there any skill set that was hard for you, or did you pretty much, which is, I would say most guys coming out of BUDS and SQT, like most of them are fine. Like most of them they pick things up pretty quick. They made it through all that crap. They made it through SQT where you're getting screened, right? Again. So most of the time, but still, you'd still get guys showing up a platoon that, they wouldn't be comfortable with this or they wouldn't be great at that. Was there anything that was tough for you?
I would say like everything was tough. I wasn't a master at anything other than my pig, and so everything was somewhat challenging for me, but I also didn't really struggle with anything too much, other than like my maturity, like that. I had checked into a SEAL team before I could even go into a bar, and I didn't go to college or anything like that. So I was a 20-year-old at a SEAL team.
Yep.
So yes, I had been through a lot as far as like BUDS and SQT, and that kind of forces you to grow up to an extent, but SEALs like to party too. And I kind of, that was probably my biggest challenge, was just my maturity and just kind of learning when to lock on and when it was time to like chill out.
Did you ever get caught? Did you ever get in trouble? Did you ever get arrested?
I did get arrested, and not in my new guy platoon.
Oh, okay.
I got arrested in my when I was in my second platoon. I got into a bar fight. These guys, it was actually three dudes, had just started mouthing off to one of my platoon members' wife. It was him and I and my girlfriend at the time and his girlfriend at the time, now, or wife, and we were coming out of the bar, and I had had a couple of drinks, and they had come over and said some disrespectful shit to them, and you know, I just was feeling froggy a little bit and didn't let it slide and ended up whooping their ass and beat up 3 people outside of a bar and got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
But
your first platoon, you managed to keep your nose clean.
Yeah.
Or at least as far as the actual law law enforcement goes.
Yeah, no trouble.
And then where was that? So you did your workup. Where did you guys go on deployment to? Your first deployment?
Afghanistan.
And when you were going to Afghanistan, did you go as a whole troop to Afghanistan?
Yep. Yeah. All 3 of our platoons went. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing because it was in 2011, and I don't know if you said you got out in 2010.
I did, yeah.
Well, yeah, there was. I'm sure you heard about it. They wanted us to somehow get on the Army schedule, and so it was us and Team 7, and we ended up basically doing 2 deployments back to back, and got synced up with the Army or something like that. I don't know all the mumbo jumbo that actually took place, or why we did it. But they told us kind of right before, it was like 2 months before we left. They were like, "Hey, just kidding, you guys are going to go to Afghanistan and we're going to need you to stay there for basically a year." And we're like, "Oh shit, okay." So we went there, and it was an interesting deployment for sure, because my platoon, we were the furthest outpost from any major base in Afghanistan, and we're basically roughing it the whole time we were out there.
Did you guys take over an outpost somewhere, or did you guys establish one?
We took one over that had just been established like literally a couple months ago. So there was nothing there. We were sleeping in tents still, no running water, no nothing like that. And then I think around month 7 or 8 of our deployment, we packed up and went 15 miles north and set up a new site. So it was literally just fucking roughing it the whole time, airdropping our food in and no running water the whole time.
And what type of ops were you doing?
We were doing all kinds of stuff, and I was lucky enough to they shifted our guys around too, so like we got to all kind of experience different things, because we all had a different kind of mission set, and we were all 3 of our platoons were in different areas of Afghanistan, so I got to kind of do a lot of everything.
So were you guys going out on patrol from your forward operating base? Was that?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much daily.
And you were interacting with the local populace type thing?
Yep.
Trying to establish relationships?
Yeah, we did that for a little while. That was really dumb.
Because you didn't feel like you made any progress, didn't make any connections?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I just thought it was like kind of a waste of time, and I just felt like we could have been doing a lot more stuff or better stuff with our time and training and all that, and it was just like a super dangerous area to be in. It was in Helmand, and we basically just lived in a fucking minefield, and it was just IEDs everywhere, just as a constant threat. So, and we were going on these long patrols every day, and all these ops we were doing and hitting these villages that were just riddled with IEDs everywhere, and getting contacted. You're basically just stick out like a sore thumb there, So, I mean, you know how it is overseas. I didn't feel real comfortable with that. Like, and it sucked being in a minefield. Like, just every step, just please don't blow up, please don't blow up, please don't blow up, please don't blow up. For a year.
Yeah. Did you guys hit any IEDs?
Yeah. Yeah, we encountered a couple IEDs, and so that was shitty.
Yeah. And the enemy, did you have a feel for who was bad and who was good when you'd go out?
No, definitely not. There was, I mean, because like literally there was times where, you know, we'd be in the village fucking shaking hands with people, and then, you know, on the way out get contacted, get in a firefight, and then fucking go back and look, and oh, it's the same guys that we were just shaking hands with that are fucking dead, you know. And so it was hard to, it was really weird to like get ramped up and everything as these, like, you get in this mindset, this warrior mindset, you know, that you're going to war and you're going to this fucking land where everyone is, you know, your enemy and blah blah blah, and then it's like, oh, just kidding, let's try to help some of these people or whatever, and the, you know, the good in you is like, okay, yeah, I want to help people and stuff like that, and do what I can to help these people out, and if they're getting like bullied essentially by the Taliban or whatever, like that's not cool. But I just felt like it was really weird to be there and go there with that mindset, and then have to fucking like try to help people, and then when you try to help people, they don't want your help, and you know, and they fucking shoot at you and shit like that. So it's like, and then you're expected to like go out and try and help these people again, and it's I don't know. It was just like a weird dynamic.
And would you go, when you said you would move positions, were you going from like, would you like switch platoons and go to a different operating base?
Yeah.
And then you'd spend some time there with them, and then do operations with them, and then after a little while go to a different one as well?
Yeah. Yeah, we rotated all of our guys just so we could all get, you know, experience doing other things like working with the commandos, or, you know, training FID, or doing the VSO stuff. And yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed that just because it broke up the monotony of every day, you know, going on patrols, doing the same things, seeing the same places or whatever, and dealing with the same threats. It keeps you kind of from getting complacent, I felt like. So
yeah, especially for the 11-monther.
Yeah, so I was definitely happy to move and do new things and work, and it was cool too, because on the base that we were at in Afghanistan, it was literally like 100 yards by 100 yards. That was like our camp. It was like being in prison, you know, but worse, like, because we're getting shot at too. And like, when you go outside to go get your fucking food that they airdrop in, you know, you're worried about stepping on IEDs. Like, we found IEDs literally right outside of our compound, you know, so it was a constant threat always. And like I said, like going to get our airdrop, it was just a lot of work too, because not only it was like we were SEAL bees, you know, we had to like build our camp, and also like all the stuff that came with that, like going and getting our supplies that would airdrop in, and being out there, you know, you only get ring routes and stuff. You only get airdrops every once in a while, and so when shit would come in, it was like all hands go work on this, and then also you got to prep your shit and get ready for the op tonight or tomorrow or whatever. And and I have a video of one of our big airdrops coming in, and you just see like 3 or 4 pallets just burn in and just explode. And you know, it's like always, like all the water bottle pallets are fine, but it's that one with like the goodies, you know, it's like, oh man, you know, that's the one that burned in, and it just fucking hits the ground, explodes, and you see like all the rippets or something, you know, something that people are looking forward to just explode, and you're just like, fuck. I don't know. I just accepted that this was my life, so
Check.
whatever. I wasn't thinking about the time too much, and then you get into a rhythm, you know. And we got to go home for R&R. That was cool. Took a little break, but it was like bittersweet, you know. Go home for fucking 2 weeks, and like, oh, I've just been playing in this minefield where everyone's trying to kill me for the last 6 months, and come home for 2 weeks and like to normalcy, and you're just like, you know, literally just fly straight from there, no decompression or anything, and then now you're back in normal society with your family. And
by the way, you're leaving in 11 days to go back.
Yeah, and then don't get comfortable because we're going right back over there. So that was like kind of like, it was bittersweet, and got back over there. But that was cool too, because it was like, all right, I'm fucking halfway through, like it's downhill now, you know. So that it kind of definitely fired me up to finish out. But then towards the end, and we were there for all 4 seasons, so we saw literally all 4 seasons. It was interesting. And by the end of it, I remember when the ring route came to pick me up to go out, I remember flying away from the base that we were at, and just thinking like, I felt kind of sad, like almost like when you move away from somewhere. And like, I've moved my whole life, I've moved around a lot, so I was like, damn, like this has been my home for the last year, you know. I'm kind of bummed to leave, but fuck this place. I can't wait to go home.
Yeah, I got kind of lucky because I had been in the Navy for a while when I deployed to Iraq, and especially my second deployment to Iraq, where I was in Ramadi, and like I you know, sometimes people will say, oh, I look back and I wish I would have appreciated it more. You know, people say that about certain parts of their life. I don't have that at all. Like, I 100% appreciated every single day I was there. I was like, this is the best part of my whole life is what's happening today, right now. You know, so I got kind of lucky in the fact that, you know, even talking to the guys that were new guys on that deployment to Ramadi, they just kind of, they were like, from then on, they'd be saying, damn, you know, I thought that's what every deployment was going to be like. And it was, they just didn't have that same perspective of, hey man, this is like this target rich environment where we're getting to do what everyone's dreamed of doing their whole life, and you're going to do it all the time. That doesn't happen, you know. It doesn't happen like that usually, you know. It's hard. And so I was pretty lucky in the fact that I could appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. As far as the work went, like as far as like being a SEAL and working there, like that was awesome, you know. And I was, you know, one of the biggest, like, I say concerns I had, or not even a concern, was just like a question to myself was, you know, how am I actually going to react in combat? You know what I mean? Because everyone likes to think that they're ideally, you know, in a situation if shit popped off, you know, I'll be the guy who will, you know, have my shit together and be that, you know, the Rock or whatever, you know what I mean? And some people crumble, you know, and I saw that as a SEAL, like that was kind of I was always a realist, you know, was like, I've never been shot at, I've never been in a gunfight or whatever. So I definitely, you know, I feel like I'm not a coward, and I feel like I would step up and do what I got to do and perform. I feel like that, but I don't know it for sure. You know what I mean? And so that was definitely when it happened, and I stepped up and felt very pleased with how that all went down, and all the combat and everything that I had been involved with. Like, that was definitely rewarding to me, you know, like as a SEAL and as a man, and as a warrior, just like, okay, like I felt legit, you know, I felt like fulfilled in that sense. So the work was really good, but just as far as being in that environment, like the IEDs was really like the IEDs and the fucking like invisible enemy was kind of discouraging. You know, it was like it felt like we just had so much risk, you know, for not a whole lot of reward. And like, which is different. Like I would say, or I feel like in like Ramadi was like a different, just way different environment. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's the way insurgents are supposed to fight, right? You're not supposed to see them; they're just supposed to pick away at you the death of 1,000 cuts with the, you know, indirect fire, IEDs, and snipers, and they don't want you to ever see them, and that's what they want, and just to slowly pick away because they don't care about human life, they don't value human life, and here we are, you know, every time we lose someone, it's a tragedy. And they don't care if they lose guys or not. They don't care. They don't care if civilians get killed. They don't care about any of that. And so that's why they have an advantage in those situations. A psychological advantage is, hey, we don't care if you kill us. And by the way, we know you care about your people. And so we're going to pick away. And hopefully you're never going to see us. And we don't care. We're going to blow you up. And we don't care.
Yeah, that was pretty apparent. I mean, because a lot of the IEDs that went off were, you know, local villagers stepping on them.
Triggered by civilians.
You know, and that just happened all of the damn time. And we would help them. You know, we would aid the wounded and stuff like that. And they'd like get pissed at us, and we're like, we didn't plant that shit. You know, like get mad at them, not us.
Yeah, that insurgency thing is,
but yeah, and like
hard to deal with.
It was just super frustrating to me. Like it was super frustrating to me dealing with like the politics involved with war, and you know, I felt like we absolutely could have done things to give us more of an advantage, but it seemed like they were more concerned with the politics and shit like that, you know, as more than like the safety of us. And I just felt like we could, you know, there's no reason why we should be going out in the daylight, period. You know, we train, like, why not fight like we train? And
because you guys got locked down from doing stuff at night, right? Is that right?
We got to do night shit, but we also did a lot of day shit. And I, you know, to me, it was just like, why the fuck are we doing this? Like, we have night vision. Why are we going out during?
Did you have Afghan forces with you?
Sometimes. A lot of times we did. Well,
yeah, we had to work a lot in Ramadi in the daytime. And the main reason why we worked, well, there's a couple big reasons why we worked in the daytime in Ramadi, which, as you just pointed out, is a huge tactical disadvantage compared to being out at night where we can literally see and the enemy can't. I mean, but in Ramadi, you know, we had to work with Iraqi soldiers who didn't have night vision, so they didn't even have flashlights. They would have like one flashlight for every 4 people, and we'd eventually got them flashlights and stuff. But anyways, it was a problem because to go out at night with them, they were blind, and so now you're like at the same disadvantage because you got people that can't see mixed with people that can see, and they're not getting anything out of it. They're not improving their skills at all.
Well, and they're just horrible.
Yeah, and they were not good, and so that was one reason was to take them out in the daytime. To get them to operate, we had to go out with them in the daytime. And the other big one was the enemy knew that we owned the night. And so the enemy in Ramadi, they didn't come out at night. They came out in the daytime. So if you wanted to kill them, you had to go out when they were moving. And so that's when we went out. And, you know, we did both. I mean, we did a ton at the night as well. And also, you know, we'd take advantage of the night to get in good positions, you know, and then during the daytime they would come out to fight and, you know, they'd get it.
Yeah, we were working with the commandos, and they had night vision, but like I said, they were just terrible, and like one of them almost shot me, on an op. We were actually in a helicopter flying to target, and it was one of their heavy gunners, and it was around midnight, and we were flying in a Chinook to the target, and I was just kind of nodding off, just trying to catch a little nap on the ride to the op, and it's pitch black in the helo, obviously, and all of a sudden it's just crack, like 4 or 5 rounds crack off, and the guy next to me, and thank God he had his barrel down, and literally just shot like 4 or 5 rounds, like less than 6 inches from my feet, and there's just holes in the bottom of the bird, and he shot the comms out of the helo and everything. And at that point I was just like, fuck. I was just kind of used to shit being shitty, and just reached over and took the rounds out of his gun, and just that was it.
Safest weapon.
Yeah, and just like come over comms like, yeah, fucking commandos AD, and everyone's just like, whatever. But so then we changed, like, all right, no more commandos rolling hot in the birds, on the way to target, and so we had changed that. So then the next one we did, we fucking got to our target, bird landed, get out and do our formation, and all of a sudden, and it's like a total brownout, because Afghanistan's super dusty and everything there, and the helo lands, we're all getting out, we're in our formation, and it's total brownout, and then all of a sudden we hear fucking rounds going off, because the dudes loading their pigs, like, all of a sudden had a runaway gun or whatever. Right. We don't know if we're getting contacted. Like, you can hear it's outgoing, but like, why? Yeah. Why is there outgoing fire when we're infilling? Are we getting contact, or what's going on? And it's just these guys are fucking stupid with their weapons, and yeah, so it was always something fun.
Always good. So you wrap up that deployment and come back and roll into your next platoon.
Yep. Come back and roll into the next platoon, and I always wanted to.
How was that coming home? Now you're home. You did the 2 weeks in the middle. How was the transition when you got home?
It was rough. I was definitely dealing with some PTSD, I would say, and I was definitely kind of angry. I was angry. It was a weird emotions, because I kind of was kind of pissed off at like America, like not America as a whole, but like I felt like the politics, like I said earlier, I felt like they really cared more about, or they just didn't really give a shit about our safety. I felt like, it's one thing, like, obviously we're doing a dangerous job, but why on earth are we not giving ourselves every advantage that we are capable of? Like the night vision and stuff like that. And a lot of times we would capture people who we knew were bad, talking to our intel guys, and they're like 100% like, this dude is a fucking terrorist. Like, he's a bad dude. Like, everyone in his phone, they rip apart their shit, and like every one of his contacts are bad, like, this guy's definitely an IED maker, whatever. And so we've got these guys captured, but then we have to turn them into the Afghan government, which we also know is corrupt. And then all of a sudden these dudes are out on the streets again in a couple months' time and making IEDs that, me or my brothers could step on, and fucking that's a wrap. And, Caleb Nelson was a SEAL that died on our deployment from our team, and it's just kind of life and death and war, it just puts things into perspective. And it really made me angry that, like Caleb couldn't come home because of an IED, and like we're letting these people go. And I just felt like we weren't being utilized fully, and like it was costing us. And so I was like really angry about that. And and then also just kind of being in that environment for a long time, just it's different, different mentality. And then coming home to America, and like people just don't understand how good it is here, and it's like a fucking fairy tale, and trying and listening to people talk and complain about shit here, and I'm just like, you just walked down that sidewalk and didn't even give a fuck where you stepped. Like, you didn't even care because you're not worried about anything. You're not worried if there's an IED there. Like, you have running water. You took a shower today. I had to burn my own shit, and so I was just like a lot of anger dealing with that. And I was drinking a lot, like, and I also felt like SEALs were the only ones that kind of understood and got it. And then also being over there in Afghanistan, I saw, Kandahar, the main base in Kandahar was like it was like a little town, and there's like flag football leagues and shopping and TGI Fridays, people having birthday parties and shit like that. And, that's where like Tim McGraw flies in to do the concert for the troops and shit like that, and it's like, oh, is this where we're staying? Eating like kings, and they're like, no, you're going out there. Mm-hmm. So then, that's where I was, and that's where me and my boys were, living in the suck, doing some serious fucking shitty living, and working a job that was dangerous as fuck every day. And then just seeing that kind of shit, like, I don't know. I felt like before I had gone overseas, I was like real, like, thank you for your service to everyone I saw, and afterwards I was just kind of the opposite. And was like, fuck all these motherfuckers, man. So I was just disgruntled and whatever. And people, I'd hear people talk about PTSD or this or that, and I'm like, what the fuck what are you afraid of? You were on a main base that, like, it's not even a thing. Like, you didn't experience war. But that was like just kind of immaturity at the time, and like I said, me being just kind of disgruntled and dealing with that. And I was drinking like heavily, and I was just a super aggressive person, and it wasn't good for my friends and family, like people I cared about or whatever. And like I said, I felt like SEALs were kind of the only ones that understood. And then even amongst SEALs, I felt like only the ones who had to live so shitty like we did, like our platoon, no running water for a year, and like just living in that environment was super rough. And I felt like they were the only ones who understood. But then again, it's like I just spent a year with these assholes in 100 by 100 foot, place. I don't want to see them, And so I just kind of felt alone a little bit, and whatever. Dealt with that. Got through that, and doing better now. And I was like kind of disgruntled towards people claiming PTSD and all this kind of shit for years after that. And then actually some random this random chick at a dinner I was at, she was in the Army or something like that, and she was talking about PTSD, and I was just thinking, like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck are you? What is it? You know, and I kind of said my viewpoints on it, and she was like, well, you know, fear is relative, and you know, like you were seriously trained and stuff for war and to be in that environment, and you know, some people weren't, and like fear is relative. Like this, like being in a gunfight to you, you know, and versus like just being in that country, like could be the same amount of fear or more for that person. And I was just kind of like, you know, I never really thought about it that way. Okay, I'll change my mind. You know?
Yeah, well, war is different for everybody, and it's. Yeah. I remember my first deployment to Iraq. We travel a lot, and we went to a lot of different places, and so we'd go from like the incredible palaces that had been taken over that had Subways and Starbucks, and then the next day we'd be out at some outstation somewhere. There'd be an ODA team just living in, you know, the most horrible living conditions. And then the next day you'd be with some random Marine Corps company out in some other forward operating base, and again they're just living like in hell. And then you come back to another like main fob, and it's all luxurious and nice. And I mean, it kind of is what it is.
For sure.
You know, it just kind of is what it is. And that actually makes sense what that female said about, you know, hey, it's different people are there. They're there for different reasons. You know, like we joined the SEAL teams because what we want to do is go out and go on patrol with a machine gun. That's like 100% of why you join the SEAL teams. Someone that goes,
you're hoping for a gunfight.
You're praying for war.
Yeah.
And
I remember like being out there, man. I remember my very first op when we flew into this to this village, and I remember being like super nervous, like, holy shit, I'm a fucking Navy SEAL, and I'm actually going on my first mission, like, holy shit. And I'm just thinking, like, when we landed at like 3 a.m. or something, and we offset like way far away, but I was thinking like, it's going to be guns blazing as soon as this helo lands. So I jump out of the helo, and I'm just like full blown ready for war. Like, what? Bring it on. Let's go. Where's Bin Laden? And it was just pitch black, quiet. And I sat there for fucking hours. And, you know, till the sun came up, nothing happened. I was like, God damn it. I was so disappointed, you know. Yeah. Like, I was looking forward to like war. And then, you know, obviously we got plenty, but I remember just being real antsy to get in a firefight, and you know, to do what I've been trained to do and put my training to the test, you know. And yeah, it's different for other people who are not. Experiences may vary.
There's no doubt about that. So when you went to when you got home and you got put into a new platoon, did you guys keep a core group of guys from your previous platoon together? Or was it like brand new?
Yeah, no. We had guys that stayed, and some went, you know, to trade at, and some screened, and
standard turnover deal.
Standard shit.
Few core guys stayed together, 4 or 5 or whatever.
Yep.
And then you guys got a new chief and a new OIC, a new assistant platoon commander.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, man, God, thank God. I so do not miss having fucking 20 bosses, you know, in the military, and then every, you know, at the drop of a hat it can change, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, new flavor. We're now we're, you know, it's like, oh, Jocko's now our fucking commander, so we're all waking up at 4:30 and going to PT. It's like, what the fuck? When did this happen? This is bullshit.
Check. And so you do another workup.
Yep. And I'd always wanted to be a dog handler. And,
oh, sweet.
Yeah, and I tried to volunteer to be a dog handler as a new guy, and they said no, because, you know, they want you
You're a new guy.
Yeah, they want you to here's your dog. Its name's 48. Yeah. And make it bark. So, yeah, no, I got to do the dog handling thing, and was super excited about that, and it was honestly such a great time. I had a badass dog, and I was his first handler, and yeah, it was super cool because, you know, one, I was a one platoon wonder, so I'd already kind of gotten that Afghanistan, gotten some combat under my belt, and I was the classic worst. The worst guy in the teams is a one platoon wonder, and so I was full blown.
Just one cruise wonder. You knew everything.
100%. And I got a fucking dog, so watch out. Stellan. No, my dog was super cool, and there were 6 of us that went over to work with the dogs, and we all got along really well, and that was super cool because now you're not a new guy, finally, and I mean, even on our deployment in Afghanistan, we were still fucking doing new guy shit.
Oh yeah, you're a new guy.
You're a fucking new guy. I couldn't fucking believe it. I'm like, they made us shovel rocks one time. Like a whole dumpster or a dump truck full of rocks, and we just moved it from one pile and just 10 like 10 15 feet to the right, and we just moved the pile of rocks to make a new pile 15 feet to the right. And it was a disciplinary thing. It wasn't all the new guys, your attitude's not good. And we're just like, are you fucking serious? Like, we were just in a firefight with you. Like, we're not like, we're expecting to like be boys now. And they're like, shut up, new guys.
Yeah. Your
attitude sucks. Go shovel rocks.
And
we're just like, God damn it. And, when we were like literally having to burn shit, burn our own shit. We had barrels that we had wrapped det cordon around and cut in half and filled with diesel fuel, and those were our shitters, but they needed burned. So when the new guys, when we didn't have the best attitudes, or our attitudes weren't up to par, we shoveled rocks and burned shit. So I was definitely happy to not be a new guy anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I was a one platoon wonder, had a dog, and got to go through another workup with the dog, so that was super cool, and got to go through dog training school and learn about the dogs, and unfortunately, like right before it was, we were on like pre-deployment leave, and they had told us like, hey, change of plans, we're going to UCOM, so we don't need the dog anymore.
Ugh.
And I was like, fuck, man, this isn't like a piece of equipment. I mean, that's essentially how the Navy looks at them. They are equipment, but obviously it's a dog, and you form this like super strong bond and attachment with them, just like they're your pet. And my dog was super awesome, and I'd worked with him so much that it was like a robot. It was like it was so cool, and I was fucking so pissed off when they just dropped that on us, and it's just like, yeah, hey, hand the leash over to someone else. And yeah, so did that, and then went to UCOM, and a lot of guys were fucking super pissed off that we were going to UCOM, and I was definitely looking forward to using my dog and doing that in Afghanistan, but that is what it is. I definitely knew that there wasn't. I didn't see any value in just bitching about it, and it seemed like that was like the common thing. Was just it seemed almost like if you weren't bitching about it, then you were looked at as a turd, and like if you weren't bitching louder than the guy next to you, then you're oh man, I'm so disappointed we're not going to Afghanistan. Yeah, me too. I'm super disappointed. Like, yeah, well, I can't even sleep at night. Well, I don't even want to fucking go. It's just.
Yeah, I just realized, just to shed some light on to everyone. So when you deploy in a SEAL platoon or a SEAL troop, you can deploy to different parts of the world. Sometimes you deploy to places like Iraq and Afghanistan, which, as we just kind of discussed, that's where everybody wants to go. Well, 95%. Well, you never know what the real number is, because there's some people that don't want to go. But there's the attitude. Most guys want to go, and they want to go fight. But there's also, you have to deploy to other parts of the world where there's no war going on. You might just deploy to the Pacific, or you might deploy, in this case, EUCOM is for European Command. So that's going over to Germany and doing things out of Germany in different parts of Europe. And it's definitely not a high threat environment.
No.
And so, yeah, and that's the way it goes sometimes. There's a mission that has to be done, and it's a different kind of mission. You're going to build relationships with other countries, and you do these exercises and do training events, but it's not generally what guys are excited to do in the SEAL teams. So there's always a, I always get asked that question when I go and talk to SEALs is, hey, my guys are going here. How do I keep them on? How do I keep them engaged when no one wants to do it or they don't care about it? And it's like, yeah, you got to work through that.
It's definitely a challenge because, I would imagine, especially if like that you're going to UCOM and then starting that workup, because you still have to go through the workup and train as if, your fucking life depends on it, and that you're going to war, and, that you're the elite warrior, and you have to be ready for anything. So you, like, obviously our training is developed around that.
Yeah.
But then having to keep up that motivation, like it's one thing when you're like, fuck, dude, this training sucks, and I'm tired, it's hot, I'm like fucking covered in shit or whatever, and I've got to hike 12 miles carrying this thing, and it's like, well, we got to do it though because we're going to fucking war. Like, this is serious, But then it's like, oh, we're going to UConn, man. Why the fuck are we even training today? So, you know what I mean? But I don't know. So I didn't really have that attitude though. I was kind of excited to, we had just done that year deployment to Afghanistan, and it was, and my platoon was the one that was really, really shitty living. The other two platoons were in nice bases that they were like, had awesome gyms, like good food and stuff like that. And, so I wasn't too terribly upset about it. Obviously, like, everyone wants to go work and kill bad guys like a champion. But, when you got to do that, and it is what it is, you might as well fucking enjoy it. That's how I feel. You might as well make the most of it.
At what point did you start jiu-jitsu?
I started jiu-jitsu actually in Buds. That was my introduction to Buds. One of our Buds instructors was he was interested in jiu-jitsu and liked it or whatever, and so as a punishment, one day we had to do wet and sandy jiu-jitsu, like introduction to jiu-jitsu, and like a lot of guys were not enjoying it because, one, if you've never done jiu-jitsu, you're 100% going to get fucked up by anyone who has done it. And we were wet and sandy, so it was like just cold and wet and miserable and sandpaper, like grinding on each other, But I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. And one of the guys, there was two guys in our class that were both really high-level wrestlers, like in high school. And they were probably like on a blue belt level, They were probably like 135, 145 pounds. And at the time, I was around 185, 190 pounds. I'd never done jiu-jitsu ever or wrestled or anything like that. And I always punched, I knew I punched hard because I've been in a lot of fights, like street fights and shit, bar fights. But, or at that point, sorry, it wasn't bar fights. It was like high school fights.
Dodgeball fights.
Right. I did get in a dodgeball fight once. No bullshit. And so anyway, these little guys just tied me in a fucking knot. And I was just so impressed. Like, because looking at these dudes, I would be like 100% I'll fuck this guy up in a fight. And they were like, all right, no striking, no punching, but we're going to grapple. And I'm like, okay. And we're grappling, and they're just completely fucking me up. And I was like thinking, oh my God, if these little itty bitty men can tie me in a knot like this and just make me helpless, like, imagine what I could do if I learned this. So I started rolling with one of my friends who was like 6'2", 240 pounds at the time, and just super aggressive. And he was probably around a blue belt level of knowledge. Maybe not quite a blue belt, but he knew definitely more than I did. And he was really aggressive too, and he was like all about rolling. So we would roll no-gi, and he would just constantly.
This was where? This is in Buds or?
Yeah, in Buds,
no
and
kidding.
then Buds, and then SQT. Buds was the introduction to it, and I was like, "Whoa, I fucking love this. This is cool." And then I started talking to one of my classmates who was also into it, and he had done some training before the Navy, and like I said, he was around a blue belt level.
So when you got to Team 10, did you start training immediately at one of the academies?
No, I didn't start training at one of the academies until after Afghanistan. I came back, and because one of the guys, one of my sea daddy, he was a purple belt at the time, and we would roll on occasion, and he would be like, and he would tell me like, man, you have like great, aggression and ability and all this shit, but you got to go to an academy and learn, and I had only learned just from that guy, that dude beating my ass over and over, and he would literally like just fucking get on top, pressure, grind, arm triangle, and he'd be like, all right, man, I got on top of you and I fucking arm triangle, I squeezed like that. Don't let me do that again. I'm like, all right, got it.
Yep. Try harder.
You got to do something. You're not doing anything. You know what I mean? So it was one of those. So I had gotten pretty good at just getting my ass kicked and dealing with a big, large human or whatever. So then when I actually showed up to an academy, I had been doing that for a couple years, with him, and never put on a gi or anything like that. But then afterwards, he was like, you got to join gym. So I joined a gym, put on the gi, and then really like, that's when my jiu-jitsu, I'd say, really started my journey. And that was in 2012.
And did you have someone to train with on your UCOM deployment?
I trained with my sea daddy. He was there, and I trained in UCOM. Like, we were obviously going to different countries, so I would go and hit up different gyms in the different countries, and then all the other countries, SEAL teams, that we worked with. There's always someone who's into combatives, so I would basically just find out who that guy was.
Who wants to get some.
Yeah, who wants to get some, and then we'd roll the mats out and fucking train. And I was trying to get guys into jiu-jitsu back then, and I was telling them, it's a great workout. And people would just look at me like, that's not a fucking workout. And, you're not lifting weights, you're not running, I'm like, dude, it is a workout for sure. And it's, one that I thought, the reason I liked jiu-jitsu specifically was because it was like a deadly martial art. I could fucking choke you, and like you're tapping, you're asking me like, please don't kill me, and that's what I thought was fucking cool about it. And
that is definitely one of the cool things about it.
Like there's times where, I don't know, like we're gunfighters, I get it, but your first line should be you, like my body. What can I do with my fucking vessel that I was brought into this universe with, like, versus you? If I don't have a weapon, if I don't, it's just me and you. Yeah. One-on-one, like, let's do it.
And I mean, I got to see, like, over and over again, just guys that didn't know anything, and they'd get in a simple prisoner handling situation and wouldn't be able to handle someone. And the only thing that they would know to do is, like, bludgeon them in the head, which is cool. That's fine. I get it. But when you bring that person into the detainment facility and they're freaking all jacked up, and then it turns out that they're not the person you were looking for or whatever, and that's just not cool. And it's not tactically the best thing to do, because you don't have the control. I mean, you can't count on punching someone or hitting them in the head. You can't count on that solving the problem. Right. Whereas jiu-jitsu, it's like, I have this human under control. Whereas you can, you've punched people before that you've nailed them and they shook it off like it didn't even happen. The whole thing with like muzzle strikes. I've had guys, I've muzzle struck plenty of people, but like I've had guys that I've seen put the craziest, most aggressive muzzle strike on a dude and have the dude bleeding, but like still fighting.
Yeah,
and you think
adrenaline's a fucking hell of a thing.
And so from the
especially when people are in fear for their life.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they hate you, and they hate your society, and they're a jihadist. It's like that muzzle strike, if it doesn't knock them out, which sure it is possible, but the idea that was just going to stop someone in their tracks 100% of the time was completely ludicrous. Now with jiu-jitsu, at least you're going to have some control, more control. And even that's not 100%, because you could, you've got someone that's really small against someone that's really big. And depending on your skill level, there could be issues there. But so you finally started training at a school. Yeah. 2012. Yeah. And then you just dove in all the way.
Yeah. I started training at a school in 2012 and started competing in jiu-jitsu. I really once I joined a school, I learned more in 6 months than I did in 4 years of course no-gi rolling with my buddies. You know what I mean? That it was just the blind leading the blind, essentially. Yeah. Like, who knows the most today? And it's like, you guys are all fucking wrong. We're all teaching each other wrong shit. You know what I mean? So I learned more in 6 months than I did that whole time. And so and at that point, I'd really like fallen in love with jiu-jitsu. And I started competing all the time and was doing really well because I was competing as a white belt, but I had already had a shitload of grappling experience, with fucking big, strong dudes who were just fucking me up. But now I'm the big, strong guy and I know a little bit, and I've been in like hard situations on the mat, you know what I mean? And then obviously just the team guy, just will to fight, that's always a different level. You can tell when you roll with a team guy. Yeah. Even when a team guy is brand new at jiu-jitsu, there's still going to be there. You can just tell that they're different because their will to fight is generally higher.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started competing a lot and doing really well, and then started fighting and doing really well in that as well, and then that led me to what I'm doing now.
And then you actually took over, when you came home from your UCOM deployment, you took over the combatives program?
Yeah. Yep. I took over the combatives program. That was something that, I felt like kind of lacked in the SEAL teams. I was very shocked at that. I was surprised at that. Obviously where the SEALs are the best in the world, at what we do, and we're gunfighters and all that shit, but I imagined that our hand-to-hand combat, like everyone thinks like, oh, fucking SEAL, he must tap me on the shoulder and I'll die, and it's true. Just for everyone who's listening, it's definitely true, but I hadn't gone to that school yet, so I was like confused as to why that wasn't a school or whatever. So anyway, I felt like at this point I was competing quite a bit and having some pretty good success in the fight MMA jiu-jitsu world, and I'd also had real world experience, a lot of real world experience dealing with prisoner handling and stuff like that, and I just felt like I could bring I felt like I could do a good job at leading the combatives. So I took that on board, and they gave me a shot, and I rewrote the curriculum for combatives that we used on the East Coast, and it was really good, and I went into it with the operationally focused mindset, not if you're doing it. I'm all about jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. However, if you're doing a triangle choke on target, something's probably gone terribly wrong.
Way wrong.
But it's definitely not a bad thing to know jujitsu. You know what I mean? Especially as an operator, you're dealing with human beings, and you're not just you're not just gonna go in and fucking kill everyone on target. Could that happen? Yeah, absolutely. But is that gonna happen? Probably not. And you're gonna have to deal with human beings, and anything from just marshaling them to a full-on fight for your life is combatives related, So I covered all of that in my program, and I really focused on basic, simple things that you could remember during a time of stress. Like you're not going to remember 12 steps to an arm bar or something like that when you're in a situation and you need it. You know what I mean? Especially in a combative situation overseas, like your adrenaline's going to be going like crazy. It's going to be fast. You need something simple, effective, and that you can remember easily. And it's also, how it is, like in a workup, you're getting fed through a fire hose essentially. There's so much shit you're learning, and you're expected to be proficient and like perfect at all of it before you go out the door. So our combatives, we didn't get a whole lot of time. It was like a 2-week thing, and so I really focused on developing techniques and things that and would also be effective towards your enemy or your person that you're dealing with, but also mitigate risk to the operator. Like muzzle strikes are great because you can muzzle strike 100 people in a row and your hands feel fine. You're not worried about breaking
and
your
weapons in control the whole time.
So that was kind of my focus, was operationally focused mindset. And and on the West Coast, I felt like from what I had seen going out there and working with those guys, it was a lot of I felt like more guys were interested in combatives, but it was more of like a sporty kind of thing. Like they were up in the fight room doing jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and which I thought was great. Like I said, it's better. It's definitely better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And so I think that it was good that guys were doing that, but I didn't think that it was operationally focused enough. Like I don't think that you should be training combatives in PT gear. Like I had the program that I set up was all scenario driven, and it was all like train like you fight. So in your camis, in your boots, with your gear. Because handling someone in PT gear versus handling someone in full kit is totally different as well.
Yeah. Well, it's I was the discussion that used to happen a lot with all this stuff, because believe me, I was in this discussion for a long time.
You reach or you get a ton of fucking pushback.
People are super emotional about combatives, and I would always I wasn't as emotional as I wasn't very emotional about it, but for me it was just like, hey, guys need to know how to do this. This isn't about emotion. This is about just the facts of being ready to be prepared, being prepared on the battlefield. That's what you need to be. And one of the things that people would say was, the speed shooting contests, you shouldn't do that because it'll take away from your operational capability. Okay, I get it. However, who does better on the range? The guy that's like a hobby shooter too, and then goes out to whatever CQC, he's drilling nails all day long. Same thing with parachuting. Like, oh, okay, so I skydive, whatever. I'm a skydiver on the weekends, and I like to go down and have a ton of jumps. I have 2,000 jumps with my slick rig. How do I do when I put a combat equipment on? I do awesome. I'm way better than like a guy like me, because I wasn't like a recreational skydiver. Whenever I put equipment on, it was like I had to pay attention. Whereas the guys that were good skydivers in the civilian side, they were good. Same thing with like, oh, who's gonna do better in a grappling match? A guy that wrestled in high school with his gear on or a guy that didn't, has his gear on.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. You get certain skill level and you're going to do great. And that's just the way it is. Now, what you can't do is just say, oh, well, we're never going to train with gear on, because there are certain, it's like saying, hey, we're never going to train with the gi. If someone never trained with the gi before and they go against someone with the gi, it depends on how long that person's been training with the gi for. Because, hey, no gi and gi have all kinds of similarities. They have all kinds of similarities. They also have some differences. And depending on how much you do of each is where you're going to kind of shake out which one you're better at. But there's so much crossover between gi and no gi, between skydiving on the weekends and skydiving in the teams, and shooting on the weekends and shooting in the teams. The way I always looked at it was train more. Train all the time with everything, as much as you can. And that's how you get better at things. But yeah, that combatives thing was and it still is. I know. It's hard. It's hard to shift that.
It's a taboo thing for some reason, and it totally depends on who's at the head of the table.
Yeah.
What their flavor is, what their take is on it, and if the guy, is like you or me, and then it's like, hey, we're all gonna we all need to know this, we all need to do it, and then other guys come in, they're like, that shit's stupid, we don't need that.
Yeah, and I always, when someone would say guys should be working on shooting, I'd say I totally agree, absolutely. Give us a range, in the building, and we'll do that in the building, because that's without question our primary weapon system, and no doubt, you want to be a great shot for sure. Guess what? How many hours are you going to shoot a day? Yeah, are you going to shoot 22 hours a day? Because you're going to have some time at some point where you go, you know what, let's get some other skills in here. We might as well know. And like you said earlier, you don't just go on target and shoot everyone. There's a female, Dave Burke, who's one of the guys at Echelon Front.
Good deal, Dave.
Yeah, he has a story that he tells about the first time he came face to face with this Iraqi woman that did not want him in the house, and he's a 18-year Marine at this point, and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and
it's like, yeah, you need to train. You need to train to handle those situations.
And a lot of people, people are unpredictable.
For sure,
are just totally unpredictable, and especially in a situation where they don't know, like. A bunch of people with guns and body armor just busted up in their fucking house. Like, you think that person's gonna be like just cool as a cucumber or calm? Like, I don't know. And then when you put hands on people too, people freak the fuck out. And you don't need to just muzzle strike everyone. Like you said, if you do that, you're gonna get shut down real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you should be, as an elite warrior, you should be expected, or at least I expect people to handle themselves, and you shouldn't let this fucking Iraqi woman just walk all over you or fucking flail around, because you don't know what to do. I can't muzzle strike her, I can't shoot her, so what do I gotta do? You know what I mean? And if you've never, and that's just like a woman, but now you have like a fighting age male or something, and if he resists, I'll just kill him. No, it's not the case always. It's definitely not. And you definitely don't want the first time that you're handling a human being like that to be overseas when it's real, and they can very easily get to your shit on your kit, and it can be a bad day. And especially, like, I tell people, just think of like muzzle discipline and awareness. When you have your gun, even at high ready, and then you're marshaling someone and they freak the fuck out, now all of a sudden you've got a hot weapon like going around the room. It's just shit that there's so much things that you need to think about. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. And that was kind of my mindset towards it.
At what point did you realize you were going to get out?
Well, I wasn't sure. I was fighting and stuff, and I was just kind of doing that as for fun, as a hobby on the weekends, and competing and stuff like that. And then I had gone out and trained at Black House with some UFC fighters, and I had always like looked at the UFC. You know, I was always a fan, and I enjoyed fighting and stuff, but I'd always looked at those guys like they were kind of superhuman, or like it was like the NFL of fighting. Like those guys are genetic freaks or whatever. You know what I mean? When you think of someone in the NFL, you're just like, man, it must be nice to be born like that, you know, or whatever. But fighting's kind of a unique thing where, I don't know, anyone can do it, and as long as you just put in the work, you know what I mean? So, and being a genetic freak helps too. But I had gotten to Black House, and I trained with some of the people in the UFC, and I was just like, holy shit, like I'm actually like doing fine. Like I'm hanging with these guys, and I'm, you know, talking to them and just kind of getting to know some of these guys, and it just made it a little more human, you know? And it's like, well, what did you do before you were a fighter? Like, oh, I fucking worked at a restaurant, you know, I was a busboy or whatever. I was, you know, this, that, the third. And I was just thinking, you know, and they're all looking at me like, dude, you're a fucking Navy SEAL. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, but that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever done. I did right out of high school, you know? And I'm just me, you know, and I know like I'm not special, you know what I mean? And it just kind of had a shift, or like a realization, like these are just people just like you, and they just fucking stuck with fighting and practiced it until they were good enough to beat, you know, the competition, and now they're here. And I was like, fuck, I could do that. Like I'm pretty good, you know? And yeah, and I've been through some shit. Like I could push myself hard. Like fuck, I could do this. And at the time, like I'd already been a SEAL for a while, and you know, I got to experience a ton and life, and just in war, and just that whole lifestyle and that whole thing, and I was just at a crossroads, you know, and I was like, well, I can stay in and make a career out of this like I was planning on doing. I was planning on staying in for 20 years. And, you know, I can screen and, you know, try and make it over there, or I can get out and kind of pursue this. And at the time I was 29 or I was 27 when I was like making this decision. And, I was like, you know, fighting is kind of a young man's game, and like you read earlier in the beginning of this, like you can't even pause time. You know, it waits for no one. And I was like, well, if I just keep down this road, I don't want to think like what if or like regret, you know. And I was like, I've already been on this path for a while, and it's cool and all that, but I want to see what else I can do. So I was really fucking struggling with that decision for a long time. It was stressing me out. And then once I just said fuck it and just decided, you know, which way I was going, then all that stress, like relief, it was a big reliever. And decided to get out. And
what year was that?
I got out in 2018.
And how many amateur fights did you have when you were in?
Like 17 or something. And
did you go pro while you were still in?
No, they wouldn't let me. And that was like, it was so frustrating to me, because in Virginia, the amateur rule set is the exact same as pro. Mm-hmm. So it's day before weigh-ins, you know, all strikes, like
no shin
elbows,
pads.
no shin pads, you know, it's 4-ounce gloves, no headgear. You know, it's fucking pro.
5-minute rounds?
No, there were three.
So that's the only difference.
3-minute rounds.
3-minute rounds, yeah.
3-minute rounds. But some of them had 5-minute rounds, like I fought in North Carolina. So yeah, it was no different, you know. And trying to explain that to like my command and shit, and I'm like, there is literally no difference. And guess what? Like a punch in the face from an amateur feels the same from a pro.
That's what I'll tell you what, man.
Like that bruise that came from an amateur, it would have came from a pro too.
Dude, when I talked to Tim Kennedy about this, like, it's so crazy. The Army gave that guy and gives him so much. I mean, he's a great guy and obviously an incredible fighter. But yeah, I mean, he was just full on just getting after it, man. Well, and he still is.
Yeah,
man.
and they support him.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Man, I ran into total fucking roadblocks left and right with my fighting. And, and I use the argument all the time, like, guys,
Brian Stan, same way. Brian Stan.
Yeah.
He was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
He was a damn
Brian.
officer of the Marine Corps just out there fighting in the WEC.
But the fucking...
No training.
Tim Kennedy, they sponsored him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Ranger Up or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Rangers Up is actually Tim's company. No, Tim, but for a while, Tim was like, I forget the exact story, but he was sponsored by like the Army.
Yeah.
For a while.
They were using it as like a recruiting tool.
And then he said, listen, you can either keep paying me a sponsorship or you can just let me come back on active duty. And they were like, that sounds like a good financial deal for us. So yeah, Tim's...
Yeah, and that's why I kind of was forced to choose because I was running into so much fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like Glory had come to town and they were doing a fight at the Hampton Coliseum. And, at this point I had already had quite a few fights under my belt and had some popularity, I guess, as a fighter. And they had heard about me and they invited me to fight on the show. And Mike Tyson was going to be there and shit. And I was like, man, this is going to be a fucking huge opportunity. It's on Spike TV too. And I was like, can I fight on this? And they were like, yeah, we'll see what we can do, blah blah blah. And then last minute they told me no, and I was just like, fuck.
If I would have been your boss, you would have been fighting.
I know, and that's the shitty part is like, it depends on who's at the table at the moment.
And now that I think about it, because I'm just sitting here thinking like, there's probably in fact, I remember seeing some kind of policy that they put in place at some point. And I forget even if it was yes or no.
Right.
I forget. I don't even remember.
But my argument to that was like all the time was like just same one with the skydiving. I'm like, guys fucking skydive all the time. There's leapfrogs. Why doesn't the Navy use me as a recruiting tool? Like I don't want to get out of the teams.
Yeah.
I want to stay in the teams, but I also want to fight. And like I can do this. Like I was ranked number 1 on the East Coast in 2 weight classes, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this shit, like, and I don't understand why we don't utilize me as a recruiting tool. Yeah. Go to the fights, set up a fucking pull-up bar, hand out T-shirts, and try and or go to they had me go to the national high school wrestling contest or tournament. Mm-hmm. And they had me do like a combatives demonstration and had me go out there and wrestle with all the high school students and stuff. And yeah, I fucking brought it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I was
Smashing Frog, baby.
I was up at the California State Championships last year. Or no, it was 2019. Yeah,
it was like a bunch of hyenas out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, my daughter was competing, but we're up there, and the boys, they're just animals. They're animals. It's awesome to see. Yeah. It's outstanding.
Those kids were fucking tough.
Oh yeah,
man.
they bring it.
And they all wanted some.
Oh sure they did.
They were like, and because I was there in like cami pants, and the fucking blue UDT SEAL shirts, and we brought the pull-up bar, and because I think Buds likes, they try to get wrestlers.
For sure they do.
Because wrestlers, I don't even want to say wrestlers have a good chance of making it through Buds, because
no, that's not true.
It's definitely not true.
They have a slightly better chance than a normal person.
Right. However, wrestlers are used to a fucking grind, and that's probably why they're a little bit more comfortable and used to the grind factor of Buds. That does not mean they're used to getting cold and wet and dealing with all that shit, but they're used to dealing with the grind. So whatever. And they're competitive. So we went there, and all these fucking high school wrestlers are looking at me like I got something to prove, or whatever. And I'm out there representing the fucking SEAL team.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I got something to prove too. Let's go, young buck. And so it was a good time. But I was like, why don't they they're cool with this, but not like fighting? Like, what's the difference? Like, I don't know. So I just ran into tons of frustrating headaches like that, and that's what ultimately decided to, I just decided to go this way, and I'm glad I did. But
and that's I gotta say, like, the SEAL teams, I never tried to fight pro, but like the SEAL teams was totally support. Like, I would go and train at places. They'd give me.
Well, the West Coast was a lot different than the East Coast. You guys were definitely more supported on that kind of stuff. Crazy. Extracurricular things.
So you get out, and then when did you go pro?
Right after I got out. So
you've been pro for a year and a half, 2 years now?
Yeah, a year and a half.
And how many pro fights do you have?
I've only done 2 pro fights so far. I won my first one by TKO in the 3rd round. It was a really good fight against another pro he was a pro boxer as well, and he had called me out and kind of campaigned for the fight or whatever, and
cool.
So I obliged, and then I did my LFA debut. I fight in a sunga. I don't know if you've seen any pictures or videos of me.
I have unfortunately seen that.
Yeah. You can't unsee it. You're welcome. No. So that's actually my buddy Jeff Gum. He owns that company.
Yeah, I know Jeff.
Yeah. So so obviously, like, I try to support other team guys and their ventures and stuff like that. And that was right up my alley with the. I thought it was funny. I'll pretty much do anything if I think it's funny. And so I fought in the sunga, which is, for those of you who don't know, it kind of looks like a American flag diaper sort of thing. But it's sexy.
Yeah, well, it's from Brazil. In Brazil, there's a sunga and there's a sungao. And I think the sunga is like the smaller one, and the sungao is like a little bit, but they're Speedos.
Yeah, they're essentially Speedos. So
they're Speedos, and Dean Lister, because he has so much Brazilian influence in his brain, he went through his phase of training with a sungao. And those were some of the worst years of my life, to be honest with you.
Well, no north south. We can't do that today.
Yeah, so I'm very anti sunga and sungao.
Well,
but you go for it.
Well, I'd actually.
Hey, if I wouldn't, it would make me want to fight you less.
Yeah.
If you were wearing that, so you got that little psychological edge on your opponent.
It was like confusing to them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which is fun. I mean, did you remember? Were you watching like UFC when all the Brazilians were still wearing them in UFC? And they still do sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Yeah, but anyways.
But I thought it was funny. So I got a little cup patch sewn into it so I could put my cup in it, and that was my new fighting attire. And I went out. It couldn't have. I don't know. It was awesome. We'll say that. I went out. I fought on LFA on national TV, and it was during a military appreciation fight, and so they hosted the fight at a army base, and it was in a hangar, with helicopters, and we've got all these people, all these active duty army people in their uniforms and stuff in the crowd, and here I am, the Navy SEAL in the American flag Speedo, and come out to fight. And got knocked out in 30 seconds. So I was like, can't get really that much worse from here, so that's cool.
Dang.
But no, it was actually, they called it the craziest 31 seconds in LFA history.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it.
It was
normally I don't have a lot of time to watch fights.
Yeah.
I had time for that one. But yeah, that's I saw
Don't blink.
I think you posted it somewhere, or somebody sent it.
I posted the whole video.
Yeah.
I mean, which so many people were so they were like, "Wow, I can't believe you posted this." And like,
you sat him down first, right? Didn't you sit him down?
No. So he had a 14-inch reach on me. He was 6'3" and fucking big ass dude. And honestly, like, I didn't even know, like we were real cordial with each other, like at weigh-ins and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure if like we were going to touch gloves or not, you know, because it's always kind of I feel like they should just like make that a rule, like you are, or you either do or you don't. It's a rule with me now. But I wasn't sure if we were going to touch gloves or not. And like kind of coming out, dude, he hit me like I didn't even know he could reach me from where he was. And it was just like, I think from that big weight cut, I do a big weight cut, and I think it just, you know, just put me on Queer Street right away. And so right out of the gates, I was rocked and was kind of fell down and was just he'd swarmed me, and I was just getting punches thrown at me left and right, and I'm just kind of like seeing stars, trying to gain my composure. And then I finally like got backed up into one against the cage and gained my composure for a second, landed a clean 1-2 and dropped him, and then ran over, like got excited when I dropped him down, kind of went over towards him and fucking just, I think probably my coordination was just kind of off still from just getting rocked, and I literally just tripped head over him, over his body. And then as we're both standing up, he fucking threw another punch, and that was it. So, and I was just like, God damn it. I'm a fucking Navy SEAL on a Army base, like fighting in an American flag Speedo on national TV, and just got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah.
But, you know, whatever.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
No, that's hey man, you're getting out there.
Hey, yeah,
that's what you got to do.
That's what it is.
There's going to be a winner and a loser.
That's right.
And if the real losers are the ones that are actually not getting in the ring.
Hey,
so.
you know, a lot more times than not, I've come out victorious. So it is what it is. I don't. It doesn't slow me down. Doesn't bum me out or whatever. Just part of it, and I understand that going into it. It's a risk I'm willing to take.
And what's your next fight?
We're setting up one, looking at August 25th in Riverside, hopefully with the LFA. So hopefully that goes through, and I'll be all set to go. Ready.
Any idea on an opponent yet?
No, I don't care who it is. I just want someone.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like I never really care who my opponent is. Honestly, I don't look at really their skill set, or I never have really. I don't care because I've dealt with people just so much, and like combatives and jiu-jitsu and fighting. It's just like people are unpredictable, and that's what I stick with. Like you may think you have a game plan figured out, and then all of a sudden they do something different, and I don't even want to be thinking about, oh, well, I thought he was going to do this, and I had this set up for this, and you know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean. I will say this. When you find out who your opponent is, you got to watch them. You got to watch them. You got to at least figure out, because there's people that have things. They have their game, and if they have that game and you know about it, as you know, like if you know I'm good at whatever, you'll defend that thing, right? And if you don't know it, well, then I'll get you in that situation, right? If you really, let's like, anybody. Everyone's got that thing at their game that they're good at, right? Mm-hmm. And like in jiu-jitsu, hey, this guy's got a good guillotine. This guy's got a good arm lock. This guy's got good heel hooks or whatever. Everyone's got their little thing. And if they're good at it, then that's what they'll kind of steer you towards. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I always, and I always say, look, I get it. We don't care who the opponent is, but when you find out who your opponent is, take a look. You know, send it to me. Let me look at it. You know what I mean? Because like I've been watching these things forever to say, hey, looks like this guy's got this. And you also have to watch more than, you got to watch like 3 or 4 fights and see if they have any grappling tournaments that are posted on Naga or whatever on YouTube, and you find out what kind of game they have. And if you can do that, then you can learn from it, and you can take it into the cage with you. Yeah, no,
I'm definitely not opposed to doing that at all. I just don't put all my eggs in the basket.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For
and
sure.
that way I don't, if shit doesn't go according to plan, like that's cool.
Because they're going to evolve too.
Yeah, for sure.
They're going to evolve, but guess what they'll go back to? They'll go back to what they're good at. You know what I mean? So that's another thing to think about.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So that actual story, when I had gotten told no, that I wasn't able to do that fucking event in Hampton Roads, so I was really bummed out, and so I ended up actually just calling the guy. I already like had decided at that point. I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm getting out of the Navy. Like I don't want to be told what I can and can't do or whatever. You know what I mean? Like. And so I called the guy back and said, well, when's the next one? And he was like, oh, we got another one coming up in San Diego. And I said, put me on that one. And so I just took leave and was like, yeah, I'm just going to San Diego. And I ended up fighting on the glory card in San Diego. I just took leave and went out there and did it anyway, and ended up knocking the guy out in the second round.
Right on.
Yeah, that's pretty
good
cool.
outcome.
Yeah.
Well, this is a pretty good spot since we're up to current events. What else? I know you got your supplement company, you got t-shirts. What else? How can people support what you got going on?
I would say the biggest way is probably on Instagram. That's my only platform. I put out a lot of content on Instagram. I do my live streams from there. I thought about doing a podcast as well, but I think I'm just going to stick to my Instagram lives and just kind of treat them as podcasts or whatever. Because I like talking and interacting with my supporters a lot, and so I figure people will get bored just talking to me for a long time in a room like this. I don't know. But yeah, I would say follow me on Instagram at Mitch Aguiar. And yeah, we've got a supplement company. Our main product is a thing called the Smashing Greens. That's what I gave you today.
Yeah.
And that actually is a blend of different organic superfoods. So I watched this documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I have not.
It's on Netflix. And this guy, he was really overweight and had some sort of skin disease, and he ended up getting a juicer and ended up doing 60 days of just vegetable juice. And he ended up losing a ton of weight, and his skin disease cleared up, and just like the doctors were just like blown away at how healthy he had become, just from doing all this, and learned about micronutrients and all this stuff. So I was like, man, that seems like a cool thing. Like I want to try it. I've never fasted before or anything like that, and I went out and bought a juicer, and it was a fucking pain in the ass to clean that thing like 3 times a day, and I had to buy like $30 worth of vegetables every day to make enough juice to put into a glass that would somewhat keep me full. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way than this shit. And so ended up going to a vitamin shop and saw like organic freeze-dried wheatgrass, and you just add water to it, and I was like, oh my god, that's so much better. So I went and basically picked out a bunch of ingredients that I did research on, that things that I wanted, and put them all into like a shaker cup and added water and drank it, and did a fast that way. And it was obviously much cheaper, much better, like just more convenient, way more convenient and everything like that. And I just didn't have anything to post on Instagram one day. And so I just shared it. I was just like, hey, this is kind of a concoction that I came up with. And I do a 5-day fast like this, and just kind of, it makes me feel good, helps me lose weight. And then I started doing that, like cutting weight for my fights. Mm-hmm. And then it just fucking caught on like wildfire. Like everyone was like, what is that? What is that? And then I was like, look, I'm not associated with these companies at all. Like I don't get it paid for this. Like this is just here. This is what I do. And like laid it all out there. And I was like, you can get all these products on Amazon or your local vitamin shop or whatever. And just made it as idiot proof as I could. And I was just getting bombarded with questions nonstop. But it was like a lot of people were having like a ton of success fasting with that and losing weight. So I was like, Well, that's pretty cool. You know, like I'm down to help people, you know, better themselves, and I enjoy like pushing people and pushing myself and trying to be better and everything. So, so I stuck with it and just kept answering all the questions or whatever. And then after like a year and a half or so, I ended up making my own. You know, it's just like, well, I might as well fucking make this my own product. And so I found a way to kind of make that come to life, and took all those products basically and just put them into one, removed all the fillers and all the bullshit in there, and just was like, you know, I didn't know anything about the supplement industry or anything like that. I just never intended on doing that, but just kind of came about, and you know, delivered a product that was way more convenient than everyone was already using and buying all these other things. And now it's like my product, and they're able to support me. And now it's like I don't have an issue answering these questions now that you're buying my product. You know what I mean? So now it's been super awesome, because we've had just a ton of people lose so much weight, and like my brother lost 110 pounds, you know, using it. So it really works, which is cool, you know, and it's really helpful for people, and it's changing their lives, and like I'm all about that. And now like it's supporting me financially now that I'm not out, you know, in the Navy anymore, because I didn't get a retirement or anything like that. I just got out. So so yeah, it's super cool. And the supplement company, like now that I've been in it for a little while, like I'm starting to get more understanding of it, and we're doing pre-workout, protein, BCAAs, all that stuff, like kind of expanding it, and you know, now I'm like really involved with it, and I'm just treating it like everything else. Like I always try to you know, under promise and over deliver. And like I always want to make sure that like people are getting like something good. You know, I don't want to ever feel like I gypped someone or got one over or something like that. Like when people come to use my products, like I want them to be like fucking satisfied.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
Know what I mean? So,
that's the best policy to have. Make the best
So
stuff
just
you can
don't
make.
skimp, you know, like my end game is not to make the most profit. Like I want an actual good fucking product, like that my name's behind, you know, and I'm proud of.
What's the website?
You can either go to smashinfrog.com or massifsupplements.com, MASF supplements.com. Either one, they go to the same place. But yeah, and we got t-shirts and stuff, but I'm basically streamlining my t-shirts because I had Massive Apparel, and I just made a bunch of t-shirts that I wanted to make, you know, that were like personal to me, like the mindset is everything, attitude is contagious, don't be a pussy, be humble, you know. These are shirts that like I've kind of made all the shirts that I want to make, and I made them. I was kind of a t-shirt snob before I had my company, and then once I made my company and like got into the apparel industry, like I just wanted like really comfortable, nice fitting, good quality t-shirts, and printed my own shit on them, and that's all I wear now. But I'm just streamlining it down to a couple that I like, and I'm actually launching a new brand pretty soon that I'm very excited about.
Cool,
so,
cool. Right on, man.
Yeah. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can keep up with all that stuff I got going on, and watch my future fights, and hopefully I don't get knocked out.
Echo, you got anything?
What happened with that dodgeball fight you're talking about?
Oh man, it was oddly enough, it was in a church also. So I got into a dodgeball church fight. Jeez. Dodgeball church ball.
Did you win that one?
I did,
right,
and knocked the guy's tooth out. We were there to practice our dodgeball, and we were taking it very seriously, you know, because there was a tournament coming up that I think had like a $500 prize, which when you're like 16, $500 is
$1 million.
Yeah, that'll go a long way.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
Go a long way. So, you know, the stakes were high, and we were there, and there was some local jokers that were just, not taking it seriously and like just fucking with our practice and stuff. And
dude, if there's one thing that makes me angry, legitimately angry, is when people aren't taking dodgeball seriously.
It just there was a time for joking around, there was a time for seriousness, and that wasn't the time. And I ended up saying something to this dude and just kind of fucking mouthed off, and my tempers flared and
escalated.
Yeah, things escalated and ended up getting into like a full-on brawl. Like
dodgeball gang
brawl.
fight.
It was a dodge brawl.
Dodge brawl.
It was dodge brawl.
There you go.
So
thank you.
It was a good time.
Well, awesome. Hey, speaking of fighting,
sure,
and smashing things,
sure.
I mean, Echo.
Yes.
We want to be better at fighting. We want to be better at living. What do you got? What do you got for us?
I got a few things. So we'll start with jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. Jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. You like gi or no gi better?
I'm starting to like no gi better, I would say, just because I feel like it's more applicable to the cage. However, like Jocko was saying earlier, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that everyone who trains jiu-jitsu should train in a gi as well, because there are a lot of similarities, and I feel like if you only train no gi and then you go against someone put a gi on with any sort of decent skill level, you're gonna get fucking choked for sure.
Yeah,
and the gi slows everything down, and it's a totally different animal. And the thing is, like, you can train in a gi all the time and take the gi off and roll with someone no gi, and you're gonna do fine. You're still doing jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? It's a different game, but it's not that much different. Yeah. But going from no gi to gi, very different. So that's why I think people should definitely train in a gi still.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, both is best for sure. The gi adds these elements that if you only train no gi, you're not used to those elements. And if someone else is used to those elements, all the no gi, most of the no gi elements are in the gi. You know, like those elements are there for the most part. Of course,
and clothes. Like using if you were getting a street fight, like you can use clothes like a gi.
Right. So it gives you even that many more options. Yeah, for sure. Agree. Well, speaking of gis, what gi we're gonna get? Everyone's doing jiu-jitsu now. I feel like it's growing, essentially. So what kind of gi are we getting? Origin gi. You know why we're getting origin gis? Because they're made in America, and they are factually the best gis in the world. Rash guards as well. Okay, so where do we get them? We get them at originmain.com.
That's also where we're getting jeans.
Yeah.
By the way.
And I got mine, by the way.
Approval level?
100. I'm always reluctant to say, 101% approval, but here, I'm going to say it, 101% approval, because they literally exceeded my expectations.
And your expectations were high?
100%. I was like, the way you're talking, the way they, PD does a good job in building these things up. He's taking close-up pictures of the buttons coming out of the factory. It's really good. So I'm like, all right, expectation level is high, 100%. These have to be 5-star jeans, essentially. They're like 5-star plus some added things that I was impressed with. So, yes, 101% approval. Yes.
So, jeans, you can get them. T-shirts.
Rash guards.
Supplements.
Supplements, yes. So, what kind of supplements? Joint warfare, which I'm happy to, I've been on the joint warfare. I think it's been 1 year consistent. Joint warfare krill oil.
So approved.
100% approved. Actually, adding value, providing value, even beyond what you might think in the beginning. Because when we're young, we're all young guys or whatever. You don't care that you have muscle soreness, you have all this stuff or whatever. The joint soreness is one of those things that just kind of creeps up on you. But if you're on top of that doesn't take it. It'll take you out of the game if you're not ready.
Preventative.
Yeah. And when it comes about, I get like elbow stuff from lifting and stuff. But if I was on like joint warfare, glucosamine, chondroitin, any one of these things that they did recommend when I started grappling, by the way, if I was on that, I would have never got out of the game at any point. Unless the point is, get your joint warfare, get your krill oil, and stay on that.
Get your discipline too.
Yeah, fully.
Get your discipline. Discipline is like all day now.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of where it's going. It's like,
makes
yeah,
sense.
guess what I'm just drinking? Oh, I'm just going to have some discipline.
Right.
It's
I
kind
saw you poured this. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's just tastiness and goodness.
Pre-mission, is this a pre-workout?
Yeah, it's not like a super there's not like a super caffeinated deal because I don't drink a lot of caffeine and I don't want to drink a lot of caffeine. So yeah, a little cognitive, a little physical.
Okay, and you just sip this all day?
Yeah, and I'll have like some in the. I won't drink it like after dinner, because there's a little bit of caffeine in it, and I don't drink a lot of caffeine. So
not even in the mornings when you're waking up.
Nope.
4:30.
Just has a little bit of
I have
caffeine
tea.
in it.
The white tea has some caffeine in it too. So I guess I do drink caffeine, but I don't drink high doses like a Monster energy drink or whatever.
Yeah, makes sense.
Speaking of energy drink, we got an energy drink coming out, but it's actually good for you, which is completely. It's like it's hard to call it an energy drink because energy drink puts it in a category with things that are actually horrible for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like the normal
stigma.
energy drinks that are just horrible for you. Yeah. This is something that you can legitimately just drink and it's good for you.
Yeah.
So that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see some cans of that in the near future.
Oh yeah, that's the good one. Also milk. If you want a dessert, if you want extra protein in the form of a dessert, that's it. Milk. All flavors.
I like that just like. If you want a dessert.
You have a mint chocolate protein, right?
Oh, big
mint chocolate.
I have a mint chocolate protein as well, and my protein or my supplements took a long time to come out. Like I'm sure if you've encountered whenever you're dealing with any kind of putting out something, it never goes according to plan, and it's always longer than you're expecting or whatever. And I had done mint chocolate. I've been a huge fan of mint my whole life. Mint chocolate, whatever.
Me too.
Amen.
Deliciousness.
Yes.
And I saw that you put out a mint chocolate, and I was like, God damn it! Everyone is going to think I copied Jocko.
I don't have the patent on mint chocolate.
Yeah. Or they'll probably think like, dang, I thought I was the only one who loved mint chocolate better than everything else.
I was like,
and
what?
No, wait, we all kind of do.
Me and Jocko, we're both SEALs, both like jiu-jitsu, both like mint chocolate.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Pete, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not the Navy SEAL thing, but wait, was he into mint chocolate or peanut butter?
He was into mint, but I think peanut butter. See, the peanut butter was kind of like came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well,
and it started smashing.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense because in my fan, I'm not this guy who's like my favorite dessert is this or that. I'm not that, But I will say that when you came out, it's almost like you're going public with your mint chocolate love, admiration. I was like, hey, me too. But peanut butter chocolate has always been my close second.
Yeah.
Easy money.
But the one that really, the strawberry, because it's just so good.
Oh yeah, and strawberry is a staple anyway.
It's
like
a staple
vanilla.
and everything, but so is vanilla. But I'm not over here. Jumping up and down about vanilla.
Yeah, but some people.
I know some people are.
I've got a cinnamon toast crunch protein coming out, and I've got to think of a name for it because I don't think I can legally call it cinnamon toast crunch.
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
Just
I don't know what the
crunch.
rules are.
I thought about thinking of growing up. I always we were kind of not so financially gifted.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that,
Sure.
whatever.
Gifted.
Living in a trailer, and my mom would always get fruity dino bites,
There you go.
And cinnamon toast squares, whatever. So I used to eat those out of the bag.
Yeah. Close. But that's not what the other kids eat.
You know
what?
same
Over
thing.
here.
Once I
This is the special kind.
Once I joined the Navy and started getting a good paycheck, I never again. I always appreciated my cereal game. It was always the good,
the real stuff,
fruity pebbles.
The real
There's no
stuff.
fruity dino bites in this house. Get out of here with that.
Comes in the bag.
Yeah.
Speaking
Not
of
the box.
that, little kids need food. That's why we got Warrior Kid milk, strawberry,
Boom.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Let
really
them
good.
eat and be healthy. And you got that Jocko white tea.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife gets she hits a point in the day where she's like, man, I'm considering just to go to bed right now or to bust out a Jocko white tea and just get after
Decision
it. Literally
point.
says that.
Decision point.
Yeah. And I know the feeling, but man, she's really committed to it though. That's her go-to.
You got to take something or create a supplement of some kind for a little power nap. Because
working on it.
You know, I did start a rumor that you take naps.
No, I freely admit that.
He's very open about it.
I wrote about it. I wrote about it in the Disciplined Freedom Field Manual. Yeah, I mean, if I'm really tired, I elevate my feet above my heart and I set an alarm and I'll sleep for 8 minutes. And
8 minutes?
8 minutes, yeah.
Power nap?
Yep. And if you go, I mean, sometimes I'll go 10, but if you start going 15, 20, then you're like legitimately, you'll feel groggy. But you know the deal, man, from like you were talking about sleeping in a helicopter. Like you wake up from those things and you're totally on fire. You know, I was asleep for 10 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever. So yeah, I have no problem with this.
The problem with me is, I don't know. I tend to nap better than I sleep. Mm-hmm. And then like when I wake up, my brain just starts going. Mm-hmm. And it just, once that happens, that's it. I'm up.
So when you say a supplement for power naps, it like helps you get into like power nap state, like that kind?
I don't know.
Something like that. Hey, we'll look into it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we're working it.
It could be your Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored situation.
Have you taken Hypnos? Yeah, so Origin.
So
we have this thing called Hypnos, which is like a sleep aid.
Yeah, but that's not for naps.
I know,
that's
it's not
straight.
for
you need something. You need something that's just good for 8 minutes. It's you take a rail of it and you're out for 8 minutes, just fully recharged. Power nap.
I'm working on it.
Well, wait, but technically, and I don't know. This just seems like this is true. Power nap. Okay, you know how you have like the 5 phases, right, of sleep?
Yeah.
Or
I don't know what they
5
are,
or
but
6.
Yeah, I don't either. I actually have insomnia.
Yeah, so you can have some, you probably get jammed up somewhere in one of those stages, right? Power nap is stage 1, I think. I'm pretty sure it's only stage 1, power nap.
It depends on how tired you are.
Well, then it won't be considered a power nap. If you're like super tired and you go boom all the way stage 5 sleep, right? You went to bed.
Do you have sleep apnea or anything?
Nope.
No. Yeah, I don't have. I did a sleep study and I don't have sleep apnea, but I have insomnia, and it's like I wake up enough not to actually wake me up, but like like I wake up and don't even know I'm awake.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I wake up. When I do wake up, I'm fucking still exhausted. Yeah. So it's great. I'm actually I actually have a CBD line as well, which I don't know if you get into the CBD at all.
Not really, no.
No. But one of the products that we're launching is a thing called Green Dreams, and it's rapid dissolve. It's a rapid dissolve tablet that you put under your tongue and dissolves in like 10 seconds, and it's 25 milligrams of CBD and 10 milligrams of melatonin. So, but that's not for an 8 minute.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like an 8 minute power nap.
That's the going to bed situation.
Yeah, that's a go to bed situation.
Nighty night.
Right on. Well, the opposite of that is Jocko White tea, because you don't take that before you go to bed. Maybe after you wake up in the middle of the day, like my wife or whatever. Also, if you're into deadlifting, which we all are, of course, it'll increase it to 8,000 pounds. Proven, by the way. Mm-hmm. Double-blind, triple placebo situation. No joke. Also, we have our own store. Jocko has a store. It's called Jocko Store.
We got rash guards, T-shirts.
Yeah. T-shirts if you want to represent while on the path.
Truckers' hats.
Yeah.
For those of us that
like
truckers' hats, yeah. Which apparently...
We do.
They're nice. One size fits all.
There you go.
Yeah, what about Flex Fit?
I did the Flex Fit for a while, but I got a small head.
Wait, Flex Fit has 2 sizes though.
I know.
Yeah, so you
gotta get the small, medium, or the large XL. And
I don't know nothing about the.
You're not even about that at all.
Don't know anything about it.
Turn your back to it.
Hoodies.
Hat snob over here. Yeah, hoodies, lightweight. And do you find use for a lightweight hoodie?
Definitely, all the time, year round.
Yes, sir. I agree. Not everyone agreed with that one.
Do they have the zippers?
Yeah, yes. So the ones we have, yes, they have zipper.
I'm a fan of the zipper, the zipper light hoodie with the pockets.
Yeah, agree.
I honestly I don't even have any of my own in my apparel line at the moment, but I'm a fan of those.
Yeah, big time.
I'm not.
Me too. Yeah, well,
Echo is.
Dang, I mean.
I'm just either T-shirt or heavy hoodie. That's where it's at.
All functional, and I get it, but.
That's like a gi, man. A zipped up, a zipping lightweight. That's a fucking gi.
A little bit, yeah. Play some worm guard with that one for sure. And Hopefully it looks good. Hopefully you like the design, but you will be representing while you're on the path. A lot of good stuff on there. JockoStore.com. Some patches on there too. I reordered some more patches. They're coming in.
Thank you.
I made a mistake.
Yay.
Hey, I made a mistake. I don't want to go too deep into it, but it resulted in the patches not being available for a little while. They're going to be available.
Boom. You can't buy what's not available. So
yeah,
good job.
Yeah, that's what they were telling me too, and I was like, dang, okay, all right. So you learn something new every day, and speaking of which,
right on top of things.
Trying to be. Anyway, smash the like button. Oh, bro, my daughter keeps saying that to me.
Oh.
She doesn't even know what that means. I think she halfway knows what that means. She's like, smash the like button. And I was like, bro, the video that you're pretending to make doesn't even have a like button.
No, but you need to just
I got to cut it out.
Smash it or
no,
something.
I got to stop her from saying that. That's what I'm going to say. But if you're in the mood to smash the like button, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, you can. So do that if you want on wherever you listen to podcasts.
And don't forget about the Warrior Kid podcast, which there are now 3 new Warrior Kid podcasts live at this time.
Yeah, good ones.
Stories from Uncle Jake.
Yeah.
Stories that teach lessons. An interview with John Bozak, the Warrior Kid artist that drew Mikey and the Dragons, talking about how to get better at art, how to use art as a tool. Get better at other things.
Yeah, that was good, man. That was good. That was like.
Do you do any art?
I didn't draw in my books, no. But I mean, yeah, I can draw.
Yeah. He sent me, man, and I'm gonna post this online. Everybody can see
oil paintings.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like Bob Ross.
Have you been into that for like a long time, or is that like a new situation?
I did my first painting in Easter of 2016.
Yeah, so kind of new.
It's
definitely. Not like when I was 3, I did my.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Jocko has the original logo, or I have the original logo of Echelon Front. It was Jocko's design. Actually designed some other stuff too.
Yeah, that's on quite a
So
few
he
things.
drew it, right? But so
no, the disconnect was that I drew it. I didn't draw it with my hand. I drew it on the computer, like I drew it on PowerPoint, like an idiot. So bad.
But it's so funny because when he first sent it to me, I'm like, of course you drew it on PowerPoint.
Yeah.
It's not like you have one of those pads and stuff. You're Jocko. You don't have that kind of stuff. So, but it's not as obvious when you get it. You just get the finished product, and it literally looks like my daughter drew it with her left hand. She's right-handed, by the way. But the concept was legitimate. It was sound.
The concept is
cool.
what the Echelon Front logo is at this time.
That's what you're pushing, and man received. But the comedic part of it.
I tried to explain it to you 9 different times, and you kept sending me back junk.
Yeah.
And finally I said, okay, picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yes, sir, it is.
I don't feel like explaining this 1,000 times.
Yes.
Let's just send him a rudimentary sketch of the concept.
Yes.
Which you then chiseled out into, glory.
Yeah. Emphasis on rudimentary, by the way, but the comedic part of it is how it looked. It looked like a child drew it. So now anytime, like, if you ask him, have you been into art? Boom, that flashes in my head. And he says, yes, boom, makes it more funny. I'm going to post it online so we all can have a good laugh.
Check.
Nonetheless, yes, Warrior Kid podcast is out. That interview with John Bozak is very good. Like, especially like, cause he talks about getting like frustrated with stuff, and bro, that's how drawing is.
With little kids.
Bro, it was good.
Don't forget about Warrior Kid soap from IrishOaksRanch.com that young Aiden is making on his farm. If you get soap, you can stay clean.
Yeah, of course. Also, we have a YouTube channel. If you're interested in the video version, you're going to see what Mitch looks like. Hell yeah.
I'm handsome.
You might be the buffest guest we've ever had, right?
I don't know.
Buffest guest?
Yeah, like
out of 185?
Yeah.
We've only had like probably 10 or 15 guests.
Well, Tim Kennedy.
Don't get excited.
No, Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, Tim Kennedy.
Tim Kennedy.
Yeah,
Do you know how many fucking times people, you and Tim Kennedy need to fight? And I'm like, have you seen Tim Kennedy? He's way bigger than me, first of all.
Yeah. He fights at 85.
I know.
Yeah.
And what do you fight at?
70.
Yeah.
170.
Yeah.
I've
And what do you walk around at?
I have fought at 185 as well.
Yeah.
I was a champion at 185 too. I walk around at close to 200
Yeah.
pounds.
That was. No, Tim is like 215, 220.
He's a big
right?
dude. I've
he's
met
awesome.
him and just in passing.
Yeah.
I shook his hand one time, but yeah, he's a big dude. And but I always tell people, like, that's not. Well, we have like kind of like similar stories. Like it wouldn't make sense for us to fight.
Yeah. They just want to see what up.
Psychological Warfare is an
album with tracks. Wait, no, back to YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. I'm gonna what I call explain the value of YouTube.
You just did. You can see what Mitch looks like.
That's just part of the value. That's just like a big part.
I
Don't
mean,
get it wrong.
I was gonna say,
huge.
don't undersell that.
Yeah, it's huge. But we have some excerpts on there. Is what I was gonna say. If you don't want to watch the whole podcast, there's excerpts on there. Anyway,
some of them are enhanced by Echo.
Yeah.
Who puts his artwork onto the video. They might be slightly better than my original Echelon front logo.
Maybe not.
Maybe a little bit better. Some of them are over enhanced. Yes. Some people think.
Yes.
Some people think they're under enhanced.
Yes, I would agree with both.
Regardless.
From time to time. Nonetheless, we have a YouTube channel. That's the point.
Yeah. And if you want to, you can smash
the like button. Sure. Comment, subscribe, whatever the three things they always say. Anyway, yes, Psychological Warfare is an album with tracks. If you're running into moments of weakness, put in Psychological Warfare. It'll solve your problem. No weakness. Weakness overcome.
If you want the visual version of that, go to flipsidecanvas.com.
Yeah.
My brother Dakota Meyer has a little company where he's making things that you hang on your wall.
Artistic things.
Some people call them artistic things.
Yeah.
And you can get those. If you want him to make a special one, hit him up on Twitter. Do some custom. If it seems to get some traction, he can put it out.
Yeah, he's good. He's doing good stuff on there. Yeah, I check him out from time to time.
Flipsidecanvas.com.
Dig it. Also on it. So you go to onit.com/Jocko. You can get a lot of good stuff on there, including kettlebells, other workout stuff, and bring my ring. I'm going to Hawaii, by the way, for 1 month. I know.
People really don't. They undersell Hawaii. I feel like.
I feel that the same way.
When I went there for the first time, I was blown away.
Where'd you go?
Maui and Oahu.
I'm going to Kauai.
Yeah,
1 month.
I heard that's beautiful.
Yes, sir. It is. So I'm bringing the rings. Your request, by the way. That was one of the selling points of rings, is that you can bring them places too.
That wasn't really my request. It was a statement.
Yeah, statement. Recommendation.
Recommendation, sure.
Maybe reluctant recommendation. You sure did. It was a legitimate recommendation. Nonetheless, I'm taking it. I'm taking them to Hawaii. Anyway, point is, the rings I have are from On It. You can get those. You can get kettlebells. You can get. I have this. Okay, they have this mineral electrolyte like mix, right? And I think I might have just enhanced what I call the mega mix. It's the pre-workout mega mix. There's two. There's one for jiu-jitsu, one for lifting. The one for jiu-jitsu is 1 scoop of discipline, a little bit of Gatorade. So it's a half Gatorade, half water mixed. Optional Gatorade. Some people, they don't like Gatorade. Some people.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
At all.
You can put lemon juice in there if you want. Sure. Like I said, the discipline, the electrolytes from On It, and then I want to add your greens.
I'll hook you up.
Yeah, that'll be the mega mix. That's pre-jiu-jitsu. Is there a certain time where you got to take those greens?
No.
Just whenever, right? Get them in?
Take them all day.
Yeah. Boom.
Every day.
So that's going to be the pre-jiu-jitsu. The pre-lifting is essentially the same thing, except you put like a caffeinated pre-workout in it, if you're into it. Anyway, back to On It. That's where you get it. There's a lot of cool stuff on there.
You're quite a large human being yourself, man. Looking good.
Yeah, but I don't sound big, though. Thank you. I respect that.
I'm sorry.
Does my voice not match how I look?
I can't say because
you saw me.
I saw you and you started talking. Yeah. So it's kind of ingrained.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Maybe not though. Had you not spoke, I'd been like, damn.
Yeah.
This dude's probably fucking got a jacked voice.
Yeah. Like Jocko or something.
Yeah.
But it's melodious. It's not jacked.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I have a high pitched voice.
Melodious.
Yeah, very melodious. Yes.
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah.
Got some books. Way the Warrior Kid 3. It's out. It's called Where There's a Will. Teaching kids about how to go harder. That's a little lesson in this book.
Yeah.
You got to push harder, and also teaching them about their ego and how their ego will get them in trouble. Everyone wishes they would have learned about ego earlier because it makes your life better. Of course, there's Way the Warrior Kid 1 and Way the Warrior Kid 2, Mark's Mission. Those books are for kids to learn to get on the path. If they're a little bit younger than that, you can get a Mikey and the Dragons.
Yep.
They can learn about how to overcome their fear. There's actual pragmatic protocols that you can take as a human being to overcome what you're afraid of. Why not learn that when you're 5 years old?
Yeah.
That's my question. Why not? Because you didn't know about the book Mikey and the Dragons. Now you know about it. Your kids are just out there conquering fears, which is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good one too, because you can, like, you know, if you have a bedtime routine, you know, you read to your, you know, 4 or 5 year old before they can read. It's one where you can read it. Not only can you read the whole thing, if you want, because it's like a 16 minute, you know, but they'll want to hear it again. So it's like a, you know, so when while you're reading it over and over again, that lesson will be ingrained and instilled
deeper and deeper,
rather than just one of the many books.
Repetition.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Right.
Then we got the Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. Mm-hmm. If you go, hey Jocko, can you post your workouts? Yes, they're in the Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. Mm-hmm. Hey Jocko, what do you think you should do in a situation like this? Oh, it's in the Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. Hey Jocko, what do you eat? It's in the manual. What's your sleep routine? It's in the manual. Do you take naps? It's in the manual. It's all in there. So the Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual, the guide to getting after it. If you want the audio version of that, it's on iTunes and Amazon Music and all the MP3 things. And then, of course, we got Extreme Ownership and the Dichotomy of Leadership, written by me and my brother, Leif Babin. Those are going to help you become a better leader in your business, with your family, and in your life. Watch it happen. Of course, we have Echelon Front, which is my leadership consultancy, and what we do is solve problems through leadership, because all the problems that you're having in your life right now in an organization are leadership problems. I don't care what they are. And if you want to solve those problems, you have to fix your leadership, and that's what we do. It's me, Leif Babin, JP Donnell, Dave Burke.
Good deal, Dave.
Yes. Flynn Cochran, Mike Sorelli, Mike Bima, and Jason Gardner. Go to echelonfront.com for details. We also have EF Online, which is online leadership training, which is something that's hard to comprehend. How are you going to take leadership and teach people leadership from an online thing, an online training program? Well, you read about it, you take tests on it, and then you get put in scenarios, interactive scenarios on the computer where you have to make decisions. So that's EF Online. Then we have the Muster, which is a leadership conference. It's a leadership event, something
Gathering,
like that. Gathering.
Sure, it's all of
Well,
the
it's
above.
actually the Muster
really.
is what it is.
Yeah, it's a muster.
It is, but it's the Muster.
The muster, yes.
So look, the Muster leadership, they've all sold out, and they're all going to sell out. The next one is September 19th and 20th in Denver. After that, December 4th and 5th in Sydney, Australia. Check out extremeownership.com for details if you want to come. Don't wait to register, because then you won't be able to go and you'll be mad at me. Yeah. And you'll send me like, let's say you're my friend. Let's say you're someone I actually know.
Sure, hypothetically.
And we're doing a muster up in San Francisco. Yeah. And you send me a text that says, hey, sorry for letting you know late. You said you were going to hook me up with some tickets. It's cool. I can make it. And I'm bringing 2 friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, first of all, no, because it's literally sold out. It's not like, hey, it's sold out, but we can still let people in. That's not sold out. Yeah. It's sold out.
Yeah.
So don't wait. And then, of course, we have EF Overwatch, where we take proven combat leaders from special operations, from combat aviation, and put them into companies in the civilian sector that need leadership. Leadership is the most important thing on the battlefield. Why not get battle-tested leaders to help out you inside your business? Go to efoverwatch.com, and if you want to ask me a question, us a question, you want to give me an answer, did I mess something up today? Probably. You want to let me know about that? Please bring it. Mitch, as he said, he is on Instagram. Mitch _Aguiar, Aguiar. And Echo and I are, well, we're on Twitter and Instagram and on das Facebooken.
Cool.
Echo is at Echo Charles, and I am at Jocko Willink. Echo, anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me very much. I really appreciate the hospitality and opportunity.
Right on.
Awesome. Well, Mitch, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And thanks for your work in the teams. And I'm sure you're going to keep putting forth maximum effort to smash people in the cage. Look forward to seeing that. And to all the other vets out there and to those that are still in uniform, thank you for standing watch over freedom for our great nation, and to our police and law enforcement and firefighters and paramedics and EMTs and dispatchers and correctional officers and Border Patrol, Secret Service, and all the first responders. I travel around the country and I run into you all the time. And I see what you're doing out there, working hard. And the reason that we live safely here in our country is you. So thank you for holding the line here at home. And to everyone else out there, remember that you can't hit the pause button. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all if you get knocked down or you get tripped up or you think that something isn't fair. It doesn't matter. You still don't get to stop. So get back up, bite down on your mouthpiece, and go get after it. And until next time, this is Mitch Aguiar and Echo and Jocko out.